Good afternoon. Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. This is RSBN Live. Speaking of live, we're live right now, of course. We're also going to be live in Suffern, New York, as President Trump will speak in Rockland County. So we'll have that in its entirety. President Trump is on his way right now aboard Air Force One, flying from Joint Base Andrews to New York for that speech. We'll have it in its entirety. At about 3:15 Eastern, the White House sent out an updated press guidance, meaning an updated schedule, which is specifically to 3:15 instead of that 3 o'clock original start time. But at the end of the day, he's the commander-in-chief, so when he starts, we'll be there for it. In the meantime, we begin our broadcast with Tulsi Gabbard stepping down from her post as Director of the National Intelligence. Now, President Trump saying, quote, unfortunately, after having done a great job, Tulsi Gabbard will be leaving the administration on June 30th. Her wonderful husband, Abraham, has been recently diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer, and she rightfully wants to be with him, bring him back to good health as they currently fight a tough battle together. The president says, I have no doubt he will soon be better than ever. Tulsi has done an incredible job, and we will miss her. Her highly respected Principal Deputy Director of National Intelligence, Aaron Lucas, will serve as Acting Director of National Intelligence, President Donald J. Trump. That post within the past 30 minutes. Meantime, speaking of the president, in case you missed it, he delivered that commencement address to the U.S. Coast Guard class of 2026 yesterday. Here are some highlights from Connecticut.
Hello, cadets, and let me begin by saying a very big congratulations to the class of 2026. It's a true honor to be here this magnificent day at one of the most prestigious military academies anywhere in the world, and I'm thrilled to become the first president to ever give a second keynote address to this storied institution. A few moments from now, every graduate in the field will go forth with an even greater honor, one of the highest distinctions anyone can attain. You'll become commissioned officers in the United States Coast Guard. You're going to go on to greatness, the likes of which even the Coast Guard has not seen. So wherever the duty calls, whatever danger comes our way, you will fight, 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 and you will win, win, win. I want to just say a very strong God bless the Coast Guard Academy, the class of 2026. God bless the United States military, and God bless the United States of America.
And of course, that was from Wednesday, where the U.S. Coast Guard commencement happened for President Trump's speech there. Okay, so let's get back to it here. Let's go to America 250. We know Freedom 250, America 250, all about July 4th, 2026. Now, we have a number of live interviews to get to. We'll go over some of the 24/7 news cycle, of course. But let's give a shout out to the following states: Arkansas, Mississippi, and right here in Alabama, as we continue to take a look at the history of our union. Let's go to clip number 5.
Arkansas was the homeland of the Quapaw Nation. That is what we consider our ancestral homeland. We're walking right on this tightrope of Quapaw and American, and sometimes they bleed into each other.
I like the untapped nature of Arkansas. It helps me think. It helps me compose my mind. I grew up in the suburbs of Kolkata, India. What I loved about the American culture at large is the ability to ask hard questions. You get the degrees of freedom asking right questions, and hopefully you get to the right answers. My research will help peek around the corners of the complicated pathways of the human heart.
I grew up in a small town in South Arkansas called Gould, Arkansas. I had the part owner of the 150th Kentucky Derby winner, Mystic Band. My dad was a farmer, and really all he ever did was work. Dad passed away in May of 23, a year to the date that we won the Derby. I guess probably the first thing that went through my mind is, wishing he was there to see it. I've always said I think Dad had the best seat in the house.
I grew up in Arkansas my whole life. I said I wasn't going to marry anyone in the military because that meant I would have to leave Arkansas. But I did. But I also knew then how much I loved my home state. How friendly, I'm sorry. How friendly we are. And smart. And very kind. Arkansas is full of kind people.
I'm Dot Ward. I live in Madison, Mississippi. The lifestyle that we enjoy here, it's not quite as fast, I guess. It's just a wonderful place to live. The people are so good and everything seems to be peaceful.
To describe the Mississippi Delta to someone who's never been here is a tough thing to do. First thing that comes to mind is flat. Second thing that comes to mind is even more flat.
The Delta has some of the richest soil in the country. You can grow great cotton and great corn. The blues has been built upon what you consider sharecroppers, slavery, what they consider as folk music, field hollers, cries, and the oppression, the pain that those people experience has created this music, this genre of storytelling. And it makes up what America is today. A country that's full of stories, the history, the oppression, and how we exceeded some of those expectations and, how we deliver the message.
When my father came here, he wasn't allowed to go to the public school. And then, just following that, I have a sister who attended Yale. Our parents and our grandparents worked so hard to give us those opportunities. Being mostly an agricultural area, if your family needed help, then you would depend on your neighbors, whether that was black, white, Chinese. So I do hope that that Southern sweetness comes across as genuine and that it continues to be that way in our part of the country. And who knows, maybe we can affect, the whole rest of the country or the world with that Southern sweetness.
Alabama is a big player in aerospace, aviation, and space. So, yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Did I get preachy? The team here is known for the expertise in propulsions. So these are the guys that build the rockets that went to the moon. And then as the space race began with Sputnik in 1957, it was just a natural progression to take those missiles and make them do science things. And so that's kind of how NASA came to be here in Huntsville, Alabama.
My great-grandfather, he worked on astronauts, and I want to work on astronauts and be as successful as him.
There's always room at the top, I've heard that. I was not always the first one chosen, believe me. I grew up during the Jim Crow era. Someone riding in a 1947 Ford threw a ball of concrete with spikes in it out of the window of the car that hit me in my thigh, paralyzed me on the right side. I've had people in my units who have told me outright that their fathers were leaders of the Klan, but they have told me that they were changed because of their experience with my leadership and with my being their boss.
Now is maybe the most important time in history to share the little stories in your life, the big stories, but also just the story of what it's like to be you, because there's only one of you.
In my case, there were 6 of us, 6 brothers in Vietnam. One brother was shot down and was rescued. Another brother was on the docks in Da Nang for about a year. I think my mother said the rosary for 10 years every day, just hoping that we'd come back. And we all did. But I was gone an awful lot. But if it weren't for my wife and support of her and our children, I would not have stayed in the Navy, and of course, I would not have been as successful as I had been.
You did a good job, honey.
All right, so a little bit of looking at our various states out there. That was Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama. Of course, just a quick video there from America 250. We have a few more states to check out. A lot of news going on as well. If you're just joining us, of course, we talked about the resignation of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. President Trump speaking about that as well on Truth Social. We'll get back into that in just a little bit. In the meantime, this all brought to you by some great sponsors, including All Family Pharmacy. And when it comes to healthcare, people are looking for something simple: access, control, and peace of mind. And right now, that's not always easy to get. You've probably experienced it, those long wait times or the packed waiting rooms, dealing with insurance and still not getting what you need when you need it. That's why more Americans are turning to All Family Pharmacy. They've built a system that's simple, safe, and secure. It's simple because you go online, you choose what you need, and then you fill out a short medical form. It's safe because a licensed doctor reviews your request and prescribes if appropriate. And it's secure. Your information and transactions are protected from start to finish. And they offer access to more than 400 prescription medications, from everyday maintenance medications to antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD+, and more. This is all shipped directly to your door. No confusion, no delays, just a better way to get what you need. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code. You'll get that 10% off. Once again, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All right, let's move on now. We have a live interview coming up any minute from now, but in the meantime, as we stand by for that, how about a shout out to those Patriots that are in Massachusetts, or how about New Hampshire and Maine, as we take a quick look at the history of those 3 states right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
We are in Lexington, Massachusetts, the site of the first skirmish of the American Revolution.
Massachusetts is the first of many things. You also have the first chocolate chip cookie, the first basketball game, and so much more.
Nantucket has a very special history because Frederick Douglass and other abolitionists met here and was considered to be a great center of the anti-slavery movement.
Growing up in Boston, English was not my first language. So one thing baseball enabled me to do was to intermingle with neighbors and friends, and the unifying element was baseball. They didn't really care where you came from, so that's part of the essence of America. We all come together as one, and we fight together and we play together.
My parents always told me nothing is impossible. With faith, you can do anything. Especially here in New Hampshire, where we have the motto, live free or die. That is something that we have to work and continually strive for.
There's an incredible work ethic in Maine, whether it's the seafood industry, blueberry farming, potato farming, just a lot of really, really hard workers. 136, please.
There's no promises, there's no guarantees, but I think it's about our ability to make what we want out of ourselves.
When you have the freedom to choose who you are and who to be, that's what America is.
All right, let's shift over to Washington, D.C. as America 250 continues its series on highlighting various states and, of course, the District of Columbia. Let's go to clip number 8.
My parents came here from Switzerland. My father was a pastry chef. My mom came over on vacation to learn English. Next thing you know, they were engaged and got married on the 4th of July and never left.
My maternal grandfather came over on the Mayflower.
My family was in New Mexico 250 years ago, a mix of Spanish, Mexican Indian, Puebloan Indian, Genízaro.
America is the greatest country on earth because it's composed of people from everywhere on earth. I think it's more important now than ever to record these stories, and hopefully in doing so we can tie that thread that bonds us.
And that's exactly what we're doing through programs like Our American Story. This initiative is about gathering voices from across America to build the largest oral and visual history collection in our country's history. We established 56 official America 250 commissions in all 50 states, D.C., and the 5 territories.
We can't wait to welcome Our American Story to Montana.
It would be great to have you come visit Puerto Rico.
I really can't wait to welcome y'all to Mississippi.
Always eager to get back to Texas, I can assure you. What I'm most proud of is that as commissioners, we work together and politics are never in the room. It doesn't matter which side of the aisle we are.
I have 2 inspirations every day that remind me why I took on this role as chair of America 250, and that is my mom and that is my daughter. Kids are going to look at this looking back, maybe it's 10 years from now, maybe it's 20 years from now. I want them to feel like this was as much about the future as it is the past.
We believe that we can do just most anything, and that is the legacy that I hope to instill in my children, my grandchildren. Everyone can do their part. We can all improve this nation. We can all work together. We can serve in our community, just as our ancestors did.
A couple audio glitches there, but that's all right. We are live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're going to go from this headquarters here at Right Side here in Alabama all the way up to Suffern, New York. That's in Rockland County. That's where President Trump is on his way to speak in Rockland County. So we'll have that speech in its entirety. Let's go from the Commander-in-Chief to the Vice President, as the VP shared a message about the Anti-Fraud Task Force recently. We aired some of this in that first broadcast, but of course we saw President Trump then with that swearing-in ceremony, so we had to cut that short. But let's air that in full, the Vice President's information about the Anti-Fraud Task Force.
Just like all of you, I was shocked last December when I watched Nick Shirley's bombshell investigation of migrant fraud in Minnesota, which called attention to the now infamous Quality Learning Center instead of learning and other schemes across that state. This morning, the ringleader of the $250 million Feeding Our Future fraud scheme in Minnesota was sentenced in federal court to over 40 years in prison, bringing justice to the countless school children and families she had scammed. And on top of that, today, federal law enforcement launched a massive raid in Minneapolis. Across the city, agents have arrested 15 people for suspected fraud that amounted to $90 million. This includes 2 of the largest Medicaid fraud cases in Minnesota history, as well as the largest autism fraud scheme ever charged by the U.S. federal government. With this action, we're bringing justice to some of America's most vulnerable citizens and justice to the American taxpayer. In 2018, Minnesota tried to provide housing services for the homeless. They estimated that the cost of the program would be $2.5 million a year. By 2024, the program had exploded to $104 million annually, and almost all of it was because of fraud. As a result, the state had to shut down the program and can no longer provide those services to Americans in need. So we've got homeless veterans sleeping on the streets because fraudsters got rich. But it's not just the homeless who are the victims of these fraudsters. The victims in the cases announced by DOJ today also include disabled Americans who rely on community support to live full, independent lives, and citizens for whom defrauding such programs is literally a matter of life and death. In one of the most horrifying cases charged today, A recipient who needed 24-hour care was supposed to be receiving exactly that through a Minnesota Medicaid benefit program. But he received nothing. No care, no services, nothing for months on end. And then he went quiet. For 2 days, a neighbor tried to check on him, knocking on his apartment door. Nothing. Shortly after, he was found dead. One day before this man died, the fraudster in question had tried to bill for the non-existent services. The services that if they had been provided, this man might actually be with us today. To get rich off taxpayers, even at the cost of others' lives, just as that fraudster had for many months before. This kind of behavior is sickening. It's disgusting. It's an affront to all of us as Americans. And today we're saying clearly, no more. Our message is simple. If you're committing fraud, our task force will find you. We'll come after you, and we will not rest until justice is served. Don't defraud the American taxpayer. Don't get rich by trying to steal from them, or we are going to come after you until justice is served. That's our promise, and we're going to stick to it.
All right, so the vice president talking about that anti-fraud task force, of course, giving a shout out to Nick Shirley and anybody really that's uncovering truth and doing investigations, but also simply being on the right side of history is always a good thing, especially when it comes to podcasters, media, and it's mostly conservative media where you'll have that kind of thing. Before we move on to something in Montgomery, Alabama, let's go to Kalshi.com/RSBN. Of course, there's a lot of different topics to choose from with Kalshi, whether it's politics or faith or sports, all sorts of stuff right there. And you can get to Kalshi. There's 3 ways to get there. The QR code that you see there on your screen, or you can go to Kalshi.com/RSBN, or just download the app. 3 ways to get there, and a lot of money possibly to be made. I mean, a lot of people are on there, more than 1 million users at this point, and a lot of people just check out the polls as well, so you can do the same thing if you'd like. So the LA mayoral race, of course, people are looking at that with Spencer Pratt and Karen Bass out there in California. How about the gubernatorial race in California as well, with Trump endorsed Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco as the Republican frontrunners there. And then, of course, we're looking at Texas, the Republican primary that is on the 26th, that runoff. So a lot going on, a lot of people talking about it. Check it out if you like, Kalshi.com/RSBN. All right, let's go to Cove Pier, one of our other great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And you've heard us talk about Cove Pier before, but those water scares in Flint, Michigan and East Palestine, if they weren't enough to get you to make the switch, this might, because more than 176 million Americans are drinking tap water with PFAs in it. They're man-made chemicals used in food packaging, non-stick cookware, firefighting foam, and scientists call them forever chemicals because once they're in your body, they stay there, they don't break down, and then guess what? They're linked to hormone disruption or immune damage and increased cancer risk. But this is the part that's making a number of people upset because the EPA did their job. They set limits for PFAs back in 2024, but water systems around the country have until 2031 to comply. Of course, that's a whole 5 years from now. And until that deadline arrives, a utility can be operating above the legal limit right now and isn't required to notify you. So you're just drinking that water, and that's why every single household just simply needs Cove Pure. The government knows these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate. They're just not making anyone act on it quite yet. Now, we did hear from the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. He announced a $1 billion grant for smaller communities to get rid of forever chemicals in their tap water. So great to see that. But all of this takes time. But what you can do right now, if you want clean, healthy water, you're just going to have to do it yourself. Cove Pure was engineered exactly for this. Unlike those normal pitcher filters that you see at the store, Cove Pure's Clearwave reverse osmosis technology is certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So those PFAs, heavy metals, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, filtering particles hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. And then the best part about Cove Pure is they simply make it so easy, it sits right on your countertop. You don't have to drill any holes, or you don't have to call someone in to install it. You just plug it in, and then you can also get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm, with a tap of a button. And again, it's that filtered water you're getting at those temperatures that you would choose. So don't wait till 2031. Take control of your water quality right now. Head to covepure.com/RSBN. Use that promo code there and you'll save $250 off of this great product, covepure.com/RSBN. All right, it's approaching the bottom of the hour here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's take a look at something that happened in Montgomery, Alabama recently. Governor Kay Ivey hosted the America 250 Alabama celebration. Now, it kicked off preparations for the 250th anniversary of our great country. The governor unveiled a massive 250th edition U.S. flag, which will hang between the columns of the state capitol throughout the summer. And we're here in Alabama, so guess what? Next time I'm in the Montgomery area, definitely going to take a photo of that flag there. I'll post it on True Social, I'll post it on X, and I'll definitely show you here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So that event happening just yesterday. In the meantime, those of you on Rumble and YouTube, thanks so much for watching, of course, on X and on our app. But let's interact with you guys a little bit as we stand by for the president in just a little bit. We have some live interviews coming up, of course, some more videos as well. So let's go to YouTube first. We'll go to Rumble in just a second. We're going to look at some of the various comments that we see out there. As you're seeing some of the flag there coming up, I guess it's those columns right there. That looks great, actually, the 250. I saw that the other day, actually, in another part of Alabama. Somebody was flying a 250 flag. Very cool stuff as we are getting closer and closer to celebrating our 250th anniversary. All right, so those of you on YouTube, where are you guys watching from, number one? Number two, what would you like to see from now until the end of 2026 in the political world? Another question, how about where would you like to see the midterm national convention? Because there hasn't been a location announced yet. So we're just, want to discuss some of these things with you. I have a little bit of interaction time here on Rumble, of course, our great home. So those of you watching on Rumble and YouTube, thanks so much for doing so. And anywhere else that you're watching out there. Specifically, as I check it out off camera, I'm seeing just people saying things like, God bless our troops. Also, a number of other comments here. I'm just going to keep checking them out. As it takes a second for it to populate, as it delays just for a few seconds there. But as we await that, we'll go back to it in just a second. But in the meantime, let's go to Karen Vaughn. She is a Gold Star mom. She spoke with us just yesterday in a powerful interview. Let's take a listen. Joining us now is Karen Vaughn, a Gold Star mother, best-selling author, speaker, and advocate. Thank you so much, Karen, for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Thank you for allowing me to.
Definitely. Let's talk about, we've got the 250 anniversary coming up. Your thoughts about that as you are out there being an advocate for military veterans and for those that have fallen. I know we'll talk about your son here in a second, but so can you talk to us about the 250th, what that means to you and your family?
Yeah, how exceptional is America, right? For 250 years we've stood. While other nations have failed, governments have crumbled, borders have been shifted, but America has stood. And that's only because of the brave men and women who continue generation after generation, putting their names on that dotted line, willing to die if needed to preserve the American way of life. I, for one, love America, make no apologies about that. My son loved America, and that's why he did what he did. And that's why I'm still doing what I'm doing.
Amen to that. And that's what the majority of the country of we the people, let's talk about that quickly. The media acts like, there's so many people that are on the wrong side of history out there. The massive majority of this country are people like you and me that say we love God, family, and country, right?
Absolutely. I see it everywhere I go. Aaron has been gone for 15 years now. And I have been surrounded by so much love and compassion and generosity by this nation because we are a nation of people who do respect sacrifice and service. And we've seen that reflected. People look around and they say, oh, America is so bad. Our best days are behind her. And I just say, if you ever feel that way, do two things. Turn off the news for a while and get off social media for a while. And you'll see, if you're standing in line beside somebody at a grocery store, if you're at a ball game cheering for the same team, you're not seeing the America that we're told constantly to hate. You're seeing the actual America of, just like you said, just people like you and me who love this country, who celebrate the freedoms we have here, and who are honored that this is a nation we get to live in.
It's so powerful. It's a great point. You know, they're not, the TV cameras from the mainstream media aren't at that local baseball game usually. You know what I mean?
That's right.
And just the everyday things that we have here in this country. So it's just interesting that they keep trying to spin it. But you know, a lot of our audience is already aware of all of that, but they might not be aware specifically of the story of your son, Navy SEAL. First of all, let's talk about that. I mean, Aaron Carson Vaughn, a Navy SEAL. How difficult was that for him to achieve being a Navy SEAL, or did it actually come easy to him?
Actually, it was a remarkable miracle that he was able to do it. From the time Aaron was a little boy, he dreamed of nothing else but being a SEAL. And I know we have limited time, so I'll make this story very quick. He blew out his ACL playing football his senior year of high school and was told after the second time he blew it out, not once, had it repaired, but blew it out again. And after the second time, he was told he would never do anything physical again without the use of a special brace. And so he thought his dreams of being a SEAL were over. And he went on and went to college, got a degree, started a different career, and then 9/11 happened. And he came home for dinner with us on his birthday, his 21st birthday, and he sat down across the table from his father and I, and he said, "Mom and Dad, I joined the SEAL Challenge program today, and I leave in November." And we were dumbfounded. You know, his father said, "What about your knee?" And of course, anybody who's had that surgery and knows that it's failed, Aaron had no ligaments in his left knee and became a Navy SEAL and went all the way to SEAL Team 6 without anyone ever knowing that. That's just a God story. That's all it is. He knew what he was created to be. He knew what he was created to do. And that's why we've never, been able to grieve his death in ways that maybe some people do, because we know he died doing exactly what he was created to do. There was no explanation for him being able to do it other than that. And by the way, every single time he served for 9 years, deployed multiple times. I think he died on his 5th combat deployment, hundreds and hundreds of missions. And every time that boy would sit down with me, on a post-deployment retreat, he would say some form of this sentence: "Mom, I can't believe I get to do this." That's the way he felt about serving this nation. And so just know, as you celebrate this Memorial Day, that men like Aaron Vaughn walked this earth, and they gave up their tomorrows for our todays.
It's so powerful to hear. It's so powerful to think that, he was doing that for our freedoms, for the people of this country, for himself and for his family as well out there. Let's go back to, he's a SEAL. He's out there in the Middle East. What was it like for you back here in the States, while your son's out there? I mean, it must have been a very prayerful time for you as well.
It's kind of interesting because the first few times that he went, it was very stressful. We, shed a lot of tears. We did a lot of praying as a family, and then it kind of became routine, right? Because these guys just went back and back and back for more, right? And so it kind of became routine. And on the deployment where he actually died, I couldn't have imagined. We were going to have a family reunion that November. We were all meeting back on the farm we raised him on in Tennessee, and everyone was getting together to celebrate what might have been his final deployment, because his second child had just been born, a little girl. She was only 9 weeks old the day he died. And so we thought maybe he'd be, rounding this up and thinking about getting out. And so it was the furthest thing from my mind. And on August 6th, you couldn't have found a person more stunned than I was to hear that he was gone. It was an unfathomable morning. It's been an unfathomable 15 years. And, we fight and we love and we pray and we care for each other in a way that's more intense probably than a lot of people do, because we've seen what it looks like to have real loss. But we are proud of Aaron. We're proud of what he did. And I would have never tried to talk him out of it, even if I knew the outcome. I would have never stopped him from living that dream. He literally lived a dream and lived more life in 30 years than most of us live in 90.
That's so powerful. If you're just joining us, this is Karen Vaughn, a Gold Star mother. Thank you again for spending the time with us. How are you able to continue to talk about this story, though, too? What's driving you to be able to have that ability? Because usually it's a healing process. You gotta move on, but you still remember your son, but you keep talking about it. What drives you to do that?
So it's easy for me. I love this country. I want to make sure his sacrifice was worth it. I want to make sure people remember what's been given on their behalf. Those of us blessed enough to have been raised in the United States of America have never known a world without freedom. We take it for granted. We just don't understand how precious it is and how rare it is, that it is not humanity's default. It's not. Freedom isn't normal. And so it just became my mission. You know, Aaron fought for America kinetically, and I wanted to fight for it culturally. So I just got up off my couch and I decided that's what I would do. And, you know, Ronald Reagan told us, you and I have a rendezvous with destiny. We can preserve this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we can sentence the next generation to take the first step into 1,000 years of darkness. And I knew that wasn't going to happen on my watch. I was not going to let Aaron down like that. So that's what got me off the couch. That and my faith in God and knowing that Aaron was a believer and that, you know, I'll be with him again one day and we'll celebrate big when that day comes.
Yeah, we will, definitely. And if somebody goes to officialkarenvaughn.com, officialkarenvaughn.com, what will they see once they go to that website?
They're going to see a couple videos. What I'd love to tell you about the most is what our family did after Aaron's death. We started a nonprofit called Operation 300. If you go to op300.org, you'll see what we did. We started adventure camps for children whose fathers died during the 20-year war on terror. We've reached out now and we're serving also families of fallen law enforcement officers. And so we pair these kids up with a father-age male mentor and let them spend a weekend doing things they would have done with their dad. They learn to shoot, they go deep sea fishing, they go surfing, they do all the fun things that dad would have taught them to do. And, you know, we're 14 years down the road now with this, and it's just become a major, massive nonprofit, and we could not be more proud of what we did in Aaron's name.
Can we have that website one more time, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It's op300.org, and just Google Operation 300. You'll find it.
Karen Vaughn, thank you so much for what you're doing for this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, back here live. I'm Matthew Alvarez here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We'll be going to Rockland County, New York to hear from President Trump. He'll be speaking there shortly. Now, of course, on the way there as we speak. Let's go to a few of our sponsors as we await the president and also as we get ready for some more interviews and some more of the 24/7 news cycle that we're following out there. When it comes to the healthcare, though, people are looking for something simple, access, control, and peace of mind. And right now, that's not always easy to get. You've probably experienced it, long wait times, packed waiting rooms, dealing with insurance, and still not getting what you need when you need it. That's why more Americans are turning to All Family Pharmacy. They've built a system that's simple, safe, and secure. It's simple. You go online, you choose what you need, and fill out a quick and short medical form. It's safe. A licensed doctor reviews your request and prescribes if appropriate. And it's secure. Your information and transactions are protected from start to finish. And they offer access to more than 400 prescription medications, from everyday maintenance medications to antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD+, and more, all shipped directly to your door. So there's no confusion, no delay, just a better way to get what you need. So go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You'll get that 10% off at checkout. Let's also go to Birch Gold Group, as you see right there. Text Trump to 989898. What you'll do is you'll get a free info kit on precious metals. Also, when there are supply constraints on commodities, prices surge. It's cause and effect, right? So you saw it with fuel prices when the Strait of Hormuz was blockaded. And we also know that gold is a limited commodity. They, of course, mine it out of the ground, and when it's gone, it's gone. Governments can't just print more of it, and that's why everyone from central banks to savvy savers are diversified with gold. If you've been thinking about it for years but have still never moved some of your savings into physical gold, Birch Gold Group is who we trust to help you. Now through May 29th, Birch Gold is giving first-time gold buyers a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. So for details and a free information kit on diversifying into gold, just text Trump to that number, 989898. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. So just text Trump to that number, 989898. This is all to see if you qualify for that first-time gold buyer rebate of up to $10,000. Again, that's Trump to 989898. All right, it is 2:40 on the East Coast. Thanks so much for live streaming on this Friday, May 22nd, as we get ready to go into Memorial Day weekend. Of course, we'll have some live coverage from Washington, D.C. on Monday as we remember our fallen, and we'll have that here. And you can check out various programming start times on Rumble, YouTube, X, our website, of course, our app, and also if you'd like to follow us on Truth Social, it's at RSBN, and on X, it's at RSB Network. All right, let's shift gears a little bit now as we will look at the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. He delivered comments from the United Nations recently about Iran. So let's take a look at clip number 11.
Of a country in the world that's in favor of it except Iran, but there's no country in the world that should accept it. Right now at the United Nations, we have a resolution that is sponsored by Bahrain. We've been very involved with it. It has the highest number of co-sponsors of any resolution ever before the Security Council. Unfortunately, a couple of countries on the Security Council are thinking about vetoing it. That would be lamentable. We are doing everything we can, though, to achieve the sort of global consensus that's necessary to prevent this from happening. And we're trying to use the United Nations. Let's see if the United Nations still works. That's a place that we're going to try to get an outcome for. And obviously, I think almost every country represented here today has signed on as a co-sponsor of that resolution. And if they haven't, I'm sure they soon will. Because I don't know of anyone in the world that should be in favor of a tolling system in an international waterway. That's just not acceptable. It can't happen.
All right, let's go from the Big Apple at the United Nations, New York, back up to Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, to the White House, where the EPA, of course, Lee Zeldin, the administrator there with the president just yesterday. Let's go over some of the highlights from the Oval Office in clip number 12.
Again, here we are in the Oval Office. President Trump is righting another wrong
by officially terminating the Biden administration's ridiculous regulations imposing costly requirements on refrigerators and air conditioners.
What was going to happen with refrigeration was a train wreck. The manufacturers were not even going to be able to keep up with it. It has helped us so much.
Today's actions are saving over $2.4 billion for American families.
It's tremendous. It's going to keep costs down, keep costs from going up, and we really appreciate it. Thank you again.
Thanks to today's reforms, the American people have lower grocery prices, cheaper transportation of goods, lower costs of air conditioning, at no detriment at all to our country.
Thank you so much for your action to roll back burdensome regulations.
Thank you, Mr. President, for rolling back the damaging EPA effects that was hurting the grocery industry.
You're really trying to help small business grocers stay in business and have low grocery prices. So thank you so much.
The Trump EPA, we are proudly implementing President Trump's agenda every single day and delivering for the American people.
All right, so let's go from Washington, D.C. now to Tristan Foote. She is the president of Holy Cow. So, hey, Tristan, how you doing?
Hey, doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Can you talk to us about what Holy Cow's all about and also how that fits into making America healthy again?
Absolutely. So my husband and I started this beef tallow skincare business called Holy Cow. The name is just fun. Our branding is fun, family-oriented, super colorful. And a few years ago, we wanted to start growing our family, and we were having a little bit of issues. So we had 3 miscarriages kind of right off the bat, and we knew we needed to take into our hands what we could. So that meant what goes on our body and what goes in our body. And sorry, I'm a little out of breath because I am super duper pregnant and catching my breath here. But so we started controlling our diet, everything that we eat, and then we started controlling our skincare. And once you start looking into skincare, you realize, oh my gosh, this is full of synthetic fragrances, all kinds of ingredients that you just can't pronounce. So we were like, you know what? We need to do this for ourselves. And we started making beef tallow skincare in our kitchen. And now over 100,000 families have actually tried our products. And it fits in with MAHA because thanks to the Trump administration and RFK Jr., more people are recognizing beef tallow, right? It's not just this weirdo thing that's out there anymore, but it's super mainstream. And now, instead of being the weirdos making beef tallow products in our kitchen, people are actually coming to us, asking us questions and wanting to try it.
And my wife is one of them. I mean, she talks about beef tallow all the time. I'm like, okay, like I'm not gonna put that on my skin. What do you do with that? But it sounds like it's something that is really, really good. So there's a lot to unpack what you just shared with us there.
Yes.
First of all, congrats on your pregnancy.
Thank you.
Can you talk to us about, how, first of all, for you to go on, this is technically national TV here, because it streams all across the country. There's some people that watch around the world. So anybody with an internet signal that's half decent could watch this. But you just admitted something or just shared something that has to be extremely painful about 3 miscarriages. So how are you able to even talk about that?
Yeah, so we're able to talk about that because of God and only God. The way that He has worked in our lives and now in our business to help us help other families, even just realizing and reading labels to look into, with the Maha movement help, of course, what is going into your body and what you're putting on your body. So that's why this business is so important to us, is because it was born out of a necessity and a way for us to help grow our family. We needed to control what we could, and that was to educate ourselves on everything we're putting in and on our bodies.
Exactly. And then to your point, the Trump administration and then RFK Jr., the director of HHS with Maha, it really helps because everybody's talking about it in the so-called mainstream now, which is great. And then also, can you give us you know how you go into a store, it says Dummy's Guide or Idiot's Guide for whatever, with the yellow and the black writing? How about Dummy's Guide for beef tallow? Can you please break that down for me personally? If everybody else knows what beef tallow is, congratulations. But I kind of don't, so tell us about it.
Of course. So beef tallow, in really simple terms, is rendered beef fat. So we take beef suet, which is the most high quality beef fat around the kidneys, and that is what we use in our skincare. And it is full of vitamins and nutrients that your skin actually needs. So it doesn't have any fillers. Any ingredients on our label are things that you will know what they are. So we want, grandma who is struggling with fine lines to pick it up off the shelf and want to use it. And we want little sister who has some dry patches to pick it up and use it. So it is meant for everyone. It is just something very simple that your skin needs. And we actually have some really good friends who just recently told us that their daughter was struggling with eczema. And this is the only thing that has really helped her skin. And every single night she goes to reach for her cow lotion, is what she calls it. So those are kind of the stories that help keep us, sustaining in this and keep us happy and coming out with new products and just kind of play to the mission of our whole business.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And, combining, it's kind of a 1-2 punch, figuratively speaking, the balance of your faith in God and then also the gifts that God has given you to do something great for people. Isn't that what it's all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, this whole business was founded upon a need that we felt we were looking for in our own household. And now it has expanded to so many families also needing that and wanting that for their households. So, like I said, we have our beef tallow whipped tallow balm, which sounds like your wife might be using some beef tallow. It's just moisturizer that's great for your skin. We have our chapstick, which especially, going into summer, we just want to keep those lips protected. And then we also, our latest product is a beef tallow sunscreen, which is so popular now because families are, spending time at the pool or spending time at the park, and you don't want these chemicals soaking into your bloodstream that are in all these other sunscreens out there. So we're really excited about our new sunscreen. It's clean, it's mineral based, and families so far are really loving it.
Well, this is what I like about this too. This is a small business. We see the Small Business Appreciation Week. You see entrepreneurs doing their thing out there. I have a very important question for you, Tristan. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Lay it on me.
Are you going to be in front of Shark Tank anytime soon?
I would love to be in front of Shark Tank. I am, 32, 33 weeks pregnant, so we're pushing it a little close. But if any of those sharks are watching this, you can call us. We're ready.
Good stuff. Tristan Foote, the president of Holy Cow. Tell your husband hello, and it'd be great to have you back on and just talk about what's next for you guys.
Absolutely. We would love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tristan. Awesome. Again, great stuff there. That stuff warms my heart. I don't know about you, but people that are just on the right side of history that are saying, you know what, I want to do something for others, but hey, if you're going to make a buck doing it too, whatever. All good. It's a free country, right? Hopefully we keep our country free. How about that? Let's save America, right? Save America Act. Let's get it passed. I saw the White House post something just recently saying stop playing games, pass the Save America Act. That's what we want to see done. Unfortunately, what we're not seeing is the momentum that we had on Capitol Hill prior to the April recess when it comes to the Save America Act. Everybody acting like, oh, I guess it's not going to happen. Okay, so we're just not going to save America. That makes no sense at all. Anyway, let's go to a few of our sponsors here as we await the president in Rockland County, New York. All right, let's go to Kalshi, I believe. Yeah, Kalshi.com/RSBN. You could download the app. You could go on the QR code. You can go Kalshi.com/RSBN. I always talk about the 3 ways to get to Kalshi. Well, those are the 3 ways. Of course, a great sponsor here at Right Side as well. Some of the hot political trending topics that people are really either putting money on the line or just checking out the polls. A lot of people are paying attention, especially on the West Coast, to that Los Angeles mayoral race between Spencer Pratt and Karen Bass. And then if you go a little bit further north in California, even though it affects the whole state, but to Sacramento, the state capital, the gubernatorial race there as well. So wouldn't that be something? Spencer Pratt as mayor in LA and, a Steve Hilton / Chad Bianco governor in California. Hopefully that happens. That'd be cool. Anyway, so there's a lot of different topics you can check out. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Also, if we want to go to one more sponsor, I'm not sure. There it is, CovePure.com. You've heard us talk about Cove Pure quite a bit here, but you remember those water scares in Flint, Michigan, and East Palestine, Ohio, with the whole train derailment situation under the Biden regime? Well, if those 2 incidents that affected water weren't enough to get you to make the switch, this might, because more than 176 million people in our country, and there's only 347 million, I wouldn't say only, there's 347 million people. 176 million of us out there are drinking tap water with PFAs in it. I know I'm not. Guarantee you right here on this is not tap water. This is filtered water right here, and it tastes great. And you can get that with Cove Pure. So those PFAs we're talking about, they're man-made chemicals used in food packaging, non-stick cookware, firefighting foam. Scientists call them forever chemicals because once they're in your body, they stay there, they don't break down, and then they're linked to hormone disruption, immune damage, and increased cancer risk. But here's the part that is making a number of people upset because the EPA, they did their job back in 2024. They set legal limits for PFAs in drinking water, but then the water systems around the country have until 2031 to comply. That's a whole 5 years from now, and until that deadline arrives, the utility can be operating above the legal limit right now, and they're not required to notify you about it, so you're just drinking that water. That's why every single household needs Cove Pure. The government knows these chemicals are harmful enough to regulate. They're just not making anyone act on it yet. Now, we do know recently the EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin announced a $1 billion grant for smaller communities to get rid of forever chemicals. But in the meantime, if you want clean, healthy water, you're going to have to do it yourself. Cove Pure was engineered exactly for this. Unlike those normal pitcher filters that you see at the store, Cove Pure's ClearWave reverse osmosis technology, it's certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So those forever chemicals, PFAs, heavy metals, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, this thing filters particles hundreds of thousands of times smaller than a single human hair. The best part about Cove Pure is they make it so easy it sits right on your countertop. So you don't have to drill any holes or call someone in to install it. You just plug it in. You can even get whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm with the tap of a button. Don't wait until 2031. Take control of your water quality right now. Head to covepure.com/RSBN. And because you're a viewer of this broadcast, you'll get $250 off right now. That's covepure.com/RSBN. Should I take a sip of water? Might as well, right? Anyway, after all that talking, you need some water. You know, that reminded me. You remember when it was the McDonald's owner? When he took a bite of his new sandwich and he's like, And then the Whopper or the Burger King and Wendy's, they had to show up the owner and say, this is how you're supposed to take a bite of a burger. Anyway, all right, so we're a few minutes out from the top of the hour here. We do know that President Trump is scheduled to speak around 3:15 Eastern time. That shifted by just 15 minutes as the president had that event this morning, swearing in the Federal Reserve chairman. So that happened earlier. If you missed any of that, you can watch that replay as well. Let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks for sticking with us here on Right Side. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. I'm Matthew Alvarez. At 3:15, the president delivers remarks in Rockland County, New York. We'll have that here for you as soon as we see it start. Let's begin at this point as we're getting ready for the top of the hour with Tulsi Gabbard. She stepped down from her role as director of the National Intelligence. Now, President Trump saying, quote, unfortunately, after having done a great job, Tulsi Gabbard will be leaving the administration on June 30th. Her wonderful husband, Abraham, has been recently diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer, and she rightfully wants to be with him, bringing him back to good health as they currently fight a tough battle together. I have no doubt he will soon be better than ever. President Trump says, quote, Tulsi has done an incredible job and we will miss her. Her highly respected Principal Deputy Director of National Intelligence, Aaron Lucas, will serve as Acting Director of National Intelligence, President Donald J. Trump. That message, about an hour ago, posted by the president, as he will most likely be wheels down any minute now there in New York, and then on the way to Rockland County. For those of you in that region right there, you think about towns like Mahwah, New Jersey, or right to the west, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, all in a tri-state kind of cluster right there in Suffern, New York. That's the town, Suffern. So I've had some family that is actually there, to be honest, now. I have an aunt that lives there. So I don't know if she wants me to say that, so I should stop talking. Anyway, let's go to the retired Navy SEAL Christopher Wiley, who we caught up with just yesterday. All right, so former Navy SEAL Chris Wiley. Let's go to him. He joins us now. Thank you so much, sir, for your service to this country. And let's talk about how important is our nation's 250th to you, sir.
Well, it's a tremendous honor to be part of Freedom 250 and celebrating America's 250th anniversary. This is tremendously important to me. I have young kids, and congratulations on yours. So it's tremendously important for me to help spread the word, the message, and the reminder that this is a once-in-a-generation type of event celebrating our 250th, and it's super special and important to pass this along to your kids, show them that you are allowed to be patriotic, allowed to love your country, and you have the right to wave that flag and be a proud American. So this means the world to me. I know you had a Gold Star mother on just before. I work with Gold Star families daily, and the having a flag draped over a coffin, the symbology, the symbolism of that is just tremendous. So when people don't understand the love of country and why this 250th anniversary is so special, it just kind of really upsets me.
No, that makes total sense. I mean, the majority of the country stands with, obviously, our U.S. Armed Forces and, honors Memorial Day and Veterans Day and people like yourself, sir. I mean, you're a retired Navy SEAL. You're a rock star. You know what I mean? And I think we, the people, are rock stars as well, right? You were fighting for us, and it's a family thing we got going on here in this country. But let's talk about, before we get to some of your service and how you became a SEAL, let's talk about you being the executive director at the Lieutenant Michael P. Murphy Navy SEAL Museum, guiding that mission to honor and educate about Naval Special Warfare Command's special operator there. So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, if anybody told me that I would be running a museum maybe 5 years ago, I would have laughed. It was definitely not in my plans. But what happened was God intervened and God put me in this position, and it's been very therapeutic, healing, and rewarding, to say the least. So being the executive director at the Michael Murphy Navy SEAL Museum in New York, I get to tell the history of naval special warfare from 1942 to present day. I get to speak about all of our fallen. We have 318 faces on the wall right now that were either killed in action or killed in training. I get to tell the stories. I get to educate, inspire all of our visitors. So it's a very big responsibility that I take it very seriously, and again, it's very healing and therapeutic to myself. So I enjoy coming to work. I enjoy meeting all the new people, and hopefully getting through to some of our youth that selflessness, sacrifice, and service are very, very important to keep our nation free.
Exactly. And so if people would be signing up for the military, as the president says that the recruiting numbers are up, and if someone is not signing up for the military, the other day here in Alabama was the primary, right? So I went in there, voted in person, always good to do that. And it was during, maybe school hours. So I saw maybe 55 and older, there at the voting polls. I didn't see very many, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. How important is that too, as well, to just tell them, hey guys, this is part of your fight for freedom, is to get out and vote?
Well, I don't think they understand that, the civic duty of casting your vote. A lot of our youth, they're kind of caught up in social media and things that are very quick and in and out of their attention span. So I don't know if they understand how important their singular vote means in an election. So it's definitely important. I don't know if it's being passed down. We've been talking about oral history and the 250th. It has to come from your parents, your grandparents. All of this stuff has to continue being passed down, with honor and traditions. I remember going to the polling booths with my with my parents and going in with the curtain and the big switches, and then you had to pull the lever. It was totally different than it is today, but it was a special event. It was something that was important that we took time out of our day to go do as a family. And I remember it to this day. So I'm hoping that people will understand that, as a parent, it's your duty to try to inform your kids and to show them that, voting, as much as you think you're one person in a sea of millions, it does matter, it does count, and it's super important.
Before we get to your service as a SEAL, your thoughts about the Save America Act and, voter ID and proof of citizenship. It should be a slam dunk, right?
Yes. It's kind of frustrating for myself. I don't consider myself, tremendously into politics. I try to, get along with everybody, but I definitely consider myself a true American and a patriot. So to not be able to pass this SAVE Act is very frustrating to me as a citizen. It is a very simple idea. You can't go to another country and vote in their elections. There's so many things that you can't do all over the world that we allow in the United States. And granted, it gets, kind of lumped together as, a freedom or a right or things like that. People are able to twist these terms, let's use that, into an argument. It should be very cut and dry, black and white here. You can't buy cigarettes without an ID. You can't get a plane ticket without an ID. So it's not very shocking to be required to have an ID.
Exactly. So we'll see what happens there with the Save America Act on Capitol Hill. Hopefully they get momentum back into this thing and get it passed. I don't know if it's going to happen, but still, hearing from someone like yourself, former Navy SEAL, retired Navy SEAL, to say what you said is powerful stuff. And to that point, let's talk about what it was like to be. How'd you do it? Let's be honest. How did you do it? And how'd you not go and ring that bell?
I just believed I had something to prove to myself. I try to explain to people that you can't point or look at somebody and say, hey, you would look like a good Navy SEAL. Because if it's not coming from somewhere deep within you, those people might say, oh yeah, okay, that sounds like a good idea, and go try, but they would not have any true desire to allow yourself to go through such I don't know, I really don't have a better word for it, torture. So to put yourself through something like that, a test that we've pretty much only had about 15 or 16,000 SEALs ever in 84 years. It is a tremendously low figure. So to be able to put yourself through those tests and Hell Week and come out the other side, it is a tremendous accomplishment for myself. And I'm very proud of it. That's why we have this brotherhood. And really, sometimes I'm shocked about it. I'm working at the museum. I forget that I did it. And then I walk past something and I went, oh, wow, I remember that. That really stunk.
That's awesome. Can you share with, I'm asking for myself, but also for the people that are watching, is there a word of encouragement or something that you learned during that Hell Week or during just training or just being a SEAL that you can kind of share with advice on maybe is it just don't give up, keep going? Like, what is it?
It is similar to that. What I like to try to explain or relay to the youth that comes through these doors is that life is hard. Nobody owes you anything. So when you get out of high school, somebody's not going to walk up to you and give you a 6-figure job and all the benefits and all this money. So you're going to have to work really hard and you're going to fail. Things are going to happen where you fall down. It's getting back up and trying again every single time to ultimately accomplish your goals. Life is not this easy road. You don't learn anything from constantly having success. So failure is a teaching tool. You shouldn't be embarrassed when you fail or stumble. But if you quit, you'll never get to where you want to go. You'll never be who you want to be. So it's just a choice. It's a mindset. It's a choice to remember that if you just don't quit, you will get to your goals. It just may take a little longer than you expected.
That's powerful words right there. Grand slam home run answer, man. Seriously, that's exactly what it's summed up perfectly. Christopher Wiley, retired Navy SEAL. Thanks again for your service, man. And thanks for what you're doing there in New York at the museum, the Michael P. Murphy Navy SEAL Museum. Is there a website that you could share with anybody interested?
Yes, it's www.murphsealmuseum.org.
Awesome. Thank you again for your service, sir.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
All right, on deck, we have a couple live interviews to get to in just a minute. But, of course, if President Trump starts speaking, we'll be going to him directly. As of right now, not seeing the live feed quite yet. His scheduled start time, according to the White House, is in actually 5 minutes. But we know how that is when it comes to the president's speeches. They are sometimes not on time, and that's totally fine. We'll just roll with the punches here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Also, let's go to All Family Pharmacy, because when it comes to healthcare, people are looking for something simple. You have access, control, and peace of mind. And right now, it's just not always easy to get that peace of mind, because you've probably experienced it, those long wait times and packed waiting rooms, dealing with insurance and still not getting what you need when you need it. That's why more Americans are turning to All Family Pharmacy. They've built a system that's simple, safe, and secure. It's simple because you go online, you choose what you need, and you fill out a short medical form. It's safe because a licensed doctor reviews your request and prescribes if appropriate. And it's secure. Your information and transactions are protected from start to finish. They offer access to more than 400 prescription medications, from everyday maintenance medications to antibiotics, antivirals, ivermectin, mebendazole, NAD+, and more. It's all shipped directly to your door depending on which prescription you get approved there. There's no confusion, no delays, just a better way to get what you need. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use that RSBN 10 promo code at checkout. You get that 10% off. Always good to save some money, but I think even better to get an American independent pharmacy in your corner, which you have with All Family Pharmacy. Birch Gold Group, specifically when there are supply constraints on commodities, prices surge. You saw that with fuel prices when the Strait of Hormuz was blockaded. And you know what else is a limited commodity? Gold. Of course, they mine it out of the ground, and when it's gone, it's gone. Governments can't just print more of it. And that's why everyone from these central banks to savvy savers are diversified with gold. So if you've been thinking about it for years but have still never moved some of your savings into physical gold, Birch Gold Group is who we trust to help you. Now through May 29th, Birch Gold is giving first-time gold buyers a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. So for details and a free information kit on diversifying into gold, text Trump to the number you see on your screen there, 989898. So this is what we know. Birch Gold can actually help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Text Trump to that number, 989898, to see if you qualify for a first-time gold buyer rebate of up to $10,000. Again, you'll get that free info kit as well. Just text Trump to 989898. All right, it's 13 minutes now after the hour. As soon as we see that live feed to Rockland County, New York, where the president will be speaking, we'll take you there. In the meantime, let's talk a little bit of music quickly, but also patriotic in a way. Mackenzie Phipps, country artist, joins us right now. Thanks so much for joining us, Mackenzie.
Thank you so much for having me. It's very exciting to get to talk to you today.
Yeah, definitely. So I know that you released a song honoring mothers everywhere with a new single, Won't Be Here Forever. So let's talk about that, and then also your work with Country for a Cause.
Yes, so I have been so excited now that my latest single, Won't Be Here Forever, is out anywhere you listen to music. I actually came up with the story concept just from my mom. She is still alive and very well, and she says some of the most interesting things, one of which, she tells me she's not going to be here forever. And I feel like that's one part in our lives that we don't really want to accept and we don't want to have to go through. So I decided to take that saying that she said and make a beautiful song out of it. And I know there's a lot of people out there that they may not have their moms here and they want to reminisce on their sweet mamas and, look back on memories that they had with her. So, having this song near Mother's Day was like the cherry on top, but the song can be played, anytime that somebody is missing their mom. So I'm so excited that it is out and people can go stream it.
That's awesome. It's always good to have a song, especially, from the country artists. I mean, you guys just how to resonate with all of us out there, no matter anybody's background, just some great music. But also, I was speaking to someone within your PR agency there, and the Country for a Cause event, that annual event. Can you talk to us about that?
Yes, so I am so excited to be a part of Country for a Cause once again this year. It is a wonderful event that they put on every year at 3rd and Lindsley, and all of the proceeds go to Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, so it is for a wonderful cause. There are so many amazing musical acts that take place throughout the entire evening, so I will be performing actually some new music I got going out here in the next few months, and then there's other incredible artists like John Barry, Hannah Dasher, Neil McCoy. Anybody can go and grab them up some tickets before they sell out. And it is taking place on June 3rd. So if you're in the Nashville area, we would love to have you out.
And then finally, can you talk to us about the 250th birthday that we're about to celebrate here in this country? I mean, the greatest country on earth, Old Glory, the greatest flag on earth. We love our freedom here in this country. We want to see more of it, of course. But your thoughts about, being, I assume you were born in the States, but just being born here and keeping that freedom forever.
Yeah, I cannot believe that it is about to be the 250th anniversary. And I mean, we live in such an incredible country, and I'm very honored to be, doing my thing, especially with music out there, because I feel like music really speaks to a lot of people out there that may be going through so many different things. And so to be an American is an honor and a privilege. And I'm actually very excited to be celebrating the anniversary of America actually in Rome, Georgia this year. I'll be doing a festival, and it'll be my first headlining festival. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm going to be paying tribute with some patriotic songs and just doing a good old fashioned 4th of July event. So it is really incredible.
That's awesome. And this is what I love about this network. We bring on people that are just like all of us, right? It's not, this person that's already known or not known. It doesn't matter. It's just people that have talents and doing great things out there. And Mackenzie Phipps, you're one of them. And thanks again. And best of luck in your career and keep rising up in those charts.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure getting to speak with you.
You too. Good stuff. All right. So Mackenzie Phipps, country artist there. I think we have one more artist to get to. I think Michael Peterson might actually be joining us right now. He's also a country artist that's very patriotic. We'll talk to him in just a little bit. Let's take a quick commercial break in the meantime. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm looking at some videos from Rapid Response 47. Maybe we'll be able to get one of those videos up. It's of President Trump inside that Cadillac, the Beast, of course, and waving to a few people that are going to be attending this event at Rockland County. I believe it is a community college in Suffern, New York. So as soon as we see the live feed of the president taking the stage, we will take you there as well. Now, this is the second part of an RSBN doubleheader today. If you missed our coverage from our prior broadcast, it started earlier this morning as the president swore in the new Fed chair, of course, so Mr. Warsh. So if you'd like to check that out, you can. As same thing with all of the other videos from throughout the week here on Right Side. And looking forward to a number of programming comments or programming notes coming up in just a little bit. As we await the president, let's do this. Let's go to one more country artist. We have Michael Peterson joining us right now. Michael, thanks so much for joining us here on Right Side.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Matthew.
Definitely. Let's talk about some of your songs out there. I mean, you've got Down on the Farm and We Are Veterans, and I like bringing on country artist guests. I like bringing on any kind of guest that is patriotic, regardless of what kind of music it is. But your thoughts, man, about just this country, our 250th birthday coming up.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. Some of your viewers might remember me from songs like From Here to Eternity or Drink, Swear, Steal, and Lie, which were big songs of mine in the late 90s. And these two albums, the We Are Veterans album and the Down on the Farm album, are albums that were only available previously at my shows. So this is the first time they've ever been distributed commercially. So the Down on the Farm album was an album that was created along with the New Holland farm manufacturing company to raise money for FFA. So for years we had it helping raise money for FFA, Future Farmers of America, and the American Cancer Society, and it had never been available anywhere other than their stores. And the We Are Veterans album is an album that was born out of over 300 performances at the time that I had made it for service members deployed in Iraq and Afghanistan. For shows that I would do over there, I would see there was a sort of handful of songs that they seemed to resonate with the most. And so I decided to put them all on an album so that those songs could possibly be there to encourage our service members when I couldn't be. So we put those out. And this being Memorial Day, one song in particular on that album, a song called The Old Army Hat, is a story about a World War II veteran who came back from the war. It's kind of story starts there and ends with him as an old man at the World War II memorial with a very auspicious meeting with a young boy and a trading of hats. And it's just a really powerful Memorial Day song. So that's why they put it out this weekend. It's an album full of patriotic songs, songs that were really hand-picked by service members in deployment.
What's it like to be able to be in that role there to encourage our armed forces, but also to be performing wherever you perform across the country? And, you know, obviously people love music, but especially when it has to be on the right side of history, the content of it, it's always good too, right?
Sure, well, absolutely. You asked what it's like. I remember I was in Djibouti, Africa. I was traveling with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs on the USO holiday trip tour, and we were performing at the Marine Corps base in Djibouti, Africa, and the room's full of Marines, you know, and at the end, one of them came up to me and he said, I liked your music. He said, but you could have stood up there and peeled a banana and it would have made me glad you were here. He said, I'm just glad that you took time from your holiday to come over and be with us. So you feel a deep sense of appreciation from these service members who recognize that we are recognizing the value of their service by taking time to be with them. So there's really a great exchange that's going on of encouragement.
How do you get involved in doing something like that? I know the late, great Toby Keith did some of that. I mean, his music was obviously awesome and is still awesome. You have some great hits too. So talk to us about how do you get involved with the military and be able to go and travel to these other countries and do what you did?
Well, the USO reached out to me and asked me if I would like to go on this first trip tour. And while I was on that tour, I had the opportunity to visit with General Pace, Peter Pace, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs at the time. And I said to him, does anybody ever go to these smaller bases? Like, I know we went to 11 countries in 7 days, and we're flying on Air Force Two, and it's like, it's luxury, you know? And we have big crowds everywhere we go. But I said to him, what about the small places that don't get anything? I said, does anybody go there? And he says, well, they're just, sad to say, but nobody goes there. And I said, well, if you ever decide you want to send somebody to those places, I'm the guy. I'd love to go. So about 6 months later, he called me and said, did you mean that? And I said, yeah. And it started a 9-year journey for me where I went to hundreds and hundreds of bases that were small bases that nobody ever went to. And I carried my PA in a golf bag, and I carried my guitar, and we flew on Black Hawk helicopters, and we'd drop in. And if there was 5 people, that was great. If there was 50 people, that was great. And we performed in the dining facility because there were no theaters. So I would set up and play while people were having dinner. And it was just remarkable how many amazing experiences that I got to share with these service members. Being in the middle of a performance in downtown Baghdad at the U.S. Embassy when the building is beginning to be shelled by mortar fire. Being in another small forward operating base where one of the service members is away from his wife on their wedding anniversary. So I tell him to get his butt up there, and he sings From Here to Eternity live for her via telephone while I'm playing the guitar, and it's their favorite song. These moments just of real life, like the blood, the gut, the mud, it's real life, playing for 10 service members who just got back from a patrol where they've been kicking down doors looking for bad guys and realizing, they're not there to hear Michael Peterson. They're there to have dinner. And what can I do? It's not about me. It's not about me playing my songs for them. It's about me trying to find a space where I can help them to laugh and relax, let down their guard a little bit. And it just shifts your perspective because you realize show business is many times about like, hey, here's my songs, look at me. But I'm not there for me, I'm there for them. And it's such a perspective shift from the way show business normally is. And it changes you. It changed me.
That's an awesome story. Those are All awesome stories. I can listen to you talk about them all day, to be honest with you, because they're real life, to your point. And before I let you go, I know a lot of times in country music, specifically in Nashville, you don't only perform and sing, a lot of songwriting is involved. So have you written songs that you mentioned a few at the top that have been played by other artists? And then can you name a couple artists and also other artists that you've been associated with? And then we'll wrap up the interview.
Sure. Your listeners, viewers may remember Denise Williams. She had big hits. Let's Hear It for the Boy, Too Much, Too Late, Too Little, Too Much, Too Little, Too Late with Johnny Mathis. Big pop star. My first cuts were songs that I co-wrote with her that she recorded. I actually had the follow-up single to Let's Hear It for the Boy. Some of your viewers may remember the Imperials, the famous gospel quartet that's in the Hall of Fame. They've cut 7 or 8 of my songs. I co-produced one of their albums. John Barry, Ty Herndon. There's a Latin American group named Basilos, which won a Latin Grammy for an album that I had a song on that I wrote with them. I've had songs recorded by jazz artists, rock artists. Timothy B. Schmidt from the Eagles, the bass player for the Eagles. We wrote a song together that was on his solo album. So I've had songs recorded in about 8 different genres of music. So it's really been about the songs, not about a genre.
That's pretty awesome stuff. Michael Peterson, country artist, thanks again for sharing your insight, and thanks for doing what you do out there, man, for all of the service members, but in general, people love music, and it's always good to have live music as well. So, Michael, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Of course. God bless. Good stuff there. Bottom of the hour, almost 3:30 here on this Friday, May 22nd. And yes, we have news to follow too, outside of some of the lighter notes, no pun intended. Of course, we know that Tulsi Gabbard has stepped down from her role as the Director of National Intelligence. President Trump had this to say about that. Unfortunately, after having done a great job, Tulsi Gabbard will be leaving the administration on June 30th. President Trump saying her wonderful husband, Abraham, has been recently diagnosed with a rare form of bone cancer, and she rightfully wants to be with him, bringing him back to good health as they currently fight a tough battle together. I have no doubt the president says he will soon be better than ever. Tulsi has done an incredible job, and we will miss her. Her highly respected Principal Deputy Director of National Intelligence, Aaron Lucas, will serve as Acting Director of National Intelligence. President Donald J. Trump, end quote. That was within the past couple hours from the president. He is boots on the ground now in Rockland County, New York. Maybe we'll show you a little bit of that video in just a second of the president waving from the Beast, of course, that huge protected car, along with all the SUVs and that whole crew of Secret Service that is accompanying, of course, the president. Let's go to a few of our sponsors before we get to that video. And also, as soon as we see that live feed, we'll take you right there. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy. When it comes to healthcare, people are looking for something simple, of course, access, control, and peace of mind. And right now, that's not always easy to get. You have probably experienced it. Long wait times, packed waiting rooms, dealing with insurance and still not getting what you need when you need it. That's why more Americans are turning to this American independent pharmacy, All Family Pharmacy. They've built a system that's simple, safe, and secure. It's simple. You go online, you choose what you need, and fill out a short medical form. It's safe because a licensed doctor reviews your request and prescribes if appropriate. And it's secure. Your information and transactions are protected from start to finish. They offer access to more than 400 prescription medications, from everyday maintenance medications to antibiotics, antivirals. How about ivermectin or mebendazole, N80+, and more, all shipped directly to your door. No confusion, no delays, just a better way to get what you need. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You'll get that 10% off at checkout. So RSBN at checkout. Meantime, when there are supply constraints on commodities, prices, unfortunately, they have to surge when there's those supply constraints. And we see that with fuel prices out there when the Strait of Hormuz was blockaded. We also know that gold is a limited commodity. Of course, they mine it out of the ground, and when it's gone, it's gone. Governments can't just print more of it, and that's why everyone from central banks to savvy savers are diversified with gold. And if you've been thinking about it for years but have still never moved some of your savings into physical gold, Birch Gold Group is who we trust to help you. Now, through May 29th, Birch Gold is giving first-time gold buyers a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. For details and a free information kit on diversifying into gold, just text Trump to that number, 989898. Birch Gold can actually help you convert an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Text Trump to that number, 989898, to see if you qualify for that first-time gold buyer rebate of up to $10,000. Great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. It is now just past the bottom of the hour, 3:31 Eastern Time, 12:30 out there on the West Coast. Everybody watching from coast to coast, thanks for doing so. And of course, the Central Time Zone, the Mountain Time Zone, and anywhere else out there that you're watching from. I know sometimes we have people from other countries that watch as well. And thanks so much for doing that as we're live streaming on a number of platforms, including our home, of course, on Rumble, on YouTube, on X, our app, our website. And it's always good to see that happen. We may have some video, guys, of Rockland County, where President Trump is waving at supporters en route to the Rockland County Community College in Suffern. So we can maybe take a look at some of that as we continue our live coverage here on Right Side. We may be able to go to some other of the In Case You Missed It interviews, just in case the president is a little bit delayed when it comes to the speech. So as soon as we get that speech, we will go there live. In the meantime, let's take a look at the president as he was waving to supporters just moments ago. All right, so we saw the president there, of course, waving. That was posted about 7 minutes ago, according to the White House. There's a rapid response 47. So he's obviously in that community college at this point, probably taking some photos, saying hello to some people. And then before you know it, we'll be hearing a song that we've heard once or twice here on Right Side Broadcasting Network from Lee Greenwood. So we'll be hearing that, I'm sure, coming up momentarily. And we'll take it from there. We'll bring it live to you here on Right Side. So thanks again for choosing Right Side Broadcasting Network. In the meantime, as we are awaiting that, Elon Werman, he is a historian and author. He did join us pretty recently, in case you missed it. So what we'll do is, as of now, we'll go to that interview. But if we see the president in that live feed, we'll definitely take you to New York.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live. Look, don't forget to watch my show right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's imperative that you do so, okay? Bye-bye.
Joining us now is conservative host Eden Gordon-Hill to talk with us about a Military Appreciation Month. And, you know, Eden, we just had a great patriot on there. I'm not sure if you were able to hear the interview, but, you know, it's one of those things, man, when it comes to a Purple Heart, it's what can you say about it, right?
It's speechless. He was amazing. Matthews, thank you so much for having me here this morning. I am in awe of the rededication that we had this weekend in our nation's capital. I'm in awe of our military and our Memorial Day services that are coming up. And, you know, Matthew, as we sit here and just remember, we need to rededicate. We need to rededicate our military. We need to rededicate our veterans. We need to rededicate our families, our children in this nation for our next generation. And seeing what Secretary Pete Hegseth said on Sunday at the rededication ceremony, really talking about General Washington and the founding fathers to this nation, really reemphasizes the Military Appreciation Month that we've had this month of May, but also reemphasizes as we head into June and the founding fathers to this nation and our Father's Day and the legacy of those who have served. I see a book. Are you going to hold up a book? Show me the book, Matthew. Yes.
and you were just talking about General George Washington. He says,
yes.
David McCullough, of course, Pulitzer Prize winning author there, he quoted General George Washington saying, "Perseverance and spirit have done wonders in all ages." Perseverance and spirit have done wonders. And it's kind of like what President Trump said at the Coast Guard commencement yesterday. He always talks about a few things, you know, to encourage the people there. And he said, never, ever give up. I mean, it's something that's simple, but it's so true. Keep going no matter what.
Right, absolutely. I also want to highlight something else. So we're talking about General Washington. We're talking about our founding fathers. We're talking about military appreciation. We're talking about America 250. So many things to be excited about in this country. And I heard a radio host say this morning that this country is flipped upside down. Well, what can we do to flip it back to what it inspires a new generation? What inspires that young man like Lucas to go serve? You know, you heard his story post 9/11. It was running into the fire. How many people do we see in military appreciation, especially this month? How many people do we see running into the fire? Well, we saw Secretary Pete Hegseth running into the fire when that another attempted assassin happened on Trump just a month ago or less. I saw my husband run into the fire when we were at a church service and bullets were flying outside the church. I see men like that and also women like that who are ready to get up and serve. So what can we do to flip this country back around? It is that selfless service, that's an understanding and that reigniting of patriotism in our communities. And it starts in our families, Matthew. You being a young father, you know what it is to sit down your daughters and your family and really engage and have those powerful conversations of God, country, and family. And it's really reigniting that and bringing that back to the forefront. I wanted to highlight something as we head into Memorial Day, which is just a couple days away. Matthew, you know that so many people get Memorial Day and Veterans Day confused. And Memorial Day is really, okay, let's honor those who fought in war, but who never made it home. And I want to send out a message to our veterans, and here's why. That veteran that you just heard, I applaud him, and he is right. That transition time of serving and then going into civilian life, you have a very small window. And also think about the Memorial Day aspect. Many of those did not come home. And so you have an empty seat at the table, but you also have that veteran suicide increase. You have less than 90 days.
All right, we just have to break into coverage now because the event has started in Rockland County, New York. As soon as we see it, we'll take you right there, literally happening now.
Look, Big Blue Nation, it's a pleasure to be here. I gotta start this off with a Go Big Blue. I'd love it if y'all would follow with me. Go Big Blue, go Big Blue, go Big Blue, go Big Blue. What an honor, what a privilege it is to be here. And without further ado, I'm grateful, I'm honored, I'm pleasured to introduce the 45th and 47th President of the United States of America, President Donald J. Trump.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today, 'cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. They said the weather was going to hold us back. No weather's holding us back. We wouldn't have missed this. This is great. And I want to thank Jackson Dart. This is going to be a future Hall of Famer in my book. Thank you. Thank you, Jackson. Great. Right. A lot of talent. And a very special hello to a place that I really do love. It's called New York. We got to straighten this place out. But I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible state with the proud, hardworking patriots of, did you ever hear of Rockland County? Rockland County? So I was born and raised in New York State, and my heart has always been here. I love this place, so we got to straighten it out. We got to get it back. We got to get it back. We're not going to let this happen. And we're sending a lot of money your way. We're going to get it back, but we need talent. That's why we have some of the people that you see right here. We have a lot of talent, a lot of political talent. From the beginning, this was a symbol of American excellence and American grit, and really the American dream. And New Yorkers are people who built Wall Street into the world's financial capital, who turned Broadway into the heart of American culture and entertainment, who dug the Erie Canal. You know what the Erie Canal is, big stuff. And launched 1,000 innovations that built really the middle class of our country. You really built the country. Unfortunately, in recent years, this state's been held back by bad policies, bad politicians, and foolish radical left idiocy. It's crazy what's going on. But under the Trump administration, we're doing everything we can to bring New York back in bigger, better, stronger than ever before. And I'll introduce him in a second, but you have a guy named Bruce Blakeman. Let me just say, he's a friend of mine for a long time. He won in landslides in Nassau County. If you know Nassau County, it's all Democrat. He's a Republican, and he won in landslides. And he just had the biggest election in the history of Nassau County as a Republican. And he's very conservative, by the way. I don't want to scare you. He's right here. Bruce, I'm going to introduce you in a second. You better get ready, Bruce. He's going to win. He's going to win. You know, when he ran years ago, he ran in Nassau. They said, you got to be kidding. It doesn't happen. No Republican wins in Nassau. And he ran and he won. And you better watch yourself. You better watch yourself, Kathy. You got a race. Got a big race. So we're going to start turning New York around. I'm going to work with Bruce. I'm going to work with the whole group in New York. We're going to work with Mike. Mike Lawler's fantastic. He's fantastic. He is a fantastic. I call him Mr. Salt. He didn't stop. He wouldn't stop. He was driving us crazy. We have to get salt. We have to get salt back. And he got it back. And he's a terrific guy, and you're lucky to have him. I'll tell you, he loves you. He loves this place. Mike, great, Mike. It's terrible things are happening. However, we have to take the good with the bad. Companies are leaving. Rich people are leaving. People that pay a lot of money. All these rich companies, big, fat, beautiful companies, they have jobs and they have money, and they're leaving, and nobody's stopping them from leaving. New York can never, if we don't stop this, and I'm for you, and I'm helping you in Washington much more than I'm supposed to be helping you, believe me, New York can never be the same if it's losing its tax base, and the people that pay 85% of the taxes are leaving. And we're taking in illegal immigrants. So they're wonderful people and all, but they're not paying any tax. They're taking your money. They're taking your money. The people that pay 85 to 90% of your taxes are leaving. And you know, when they go, they never come back. They never come back. Nobody calls them. Nobody does anything. Nobody talks to them. Nobody says, please don't leave. We'll give you a tax rebate. We'll do anything. Don't leave. But they're leaving. They're going to Florida. They're going to Tennessee. They're going to Texas. They're going to South Carolina, North Carolina. They're going all over the place, but they're leaving, and we can't let it happen. It's a great place. We can't. Bruce will stop it. Mike will stop it. They're all going to stop it. They'll bring them back. On top of that, the streets are dirty. The crime is out of control. We have a family here that's so incredible. Really, two families. We have somebody else. We're giving them the Presidential Medal of Freedom, something we've never done for this reason, but the mother is here of a great young man, and we're going to give him a very special honor. The illegal aliens are all over the place. The people are getting shot left and right. The elections are rigged. They don't have voter ID. They don't have proof of citizenship. Think of it. We want to get the Save America Act passed now. Think of the Save America Day. It's voter ID. Who's against voter ID? You ever see the Democrat National Convention? I call it the Democrat. They're Democrat. But you ever see it? They have cards on them for the Democrat National Convention, cards like bigger than your chest. Name, address, everything you want to know about a person. They might even have a social security number on it. They have. That's to get into their convention. But for voting, you're allowed to go in, right? It's horrible. So it's voter ID. It's proof, a little thing called proof of citizenship. And it's mail-in voting is a disaster. If you have military, if you're going to be away, if you're not feeling well, if you're in any way disabled, absolutely we have it. We'll be very generous. But generally, you got to go and vote. Otherwise, it's a rigged system. And that, in a nutshell, is the Save America Act. Not very complicated. Think of it, voter ID. Think of it, voter ID, proof of citizenship, and mail-in ballots are gone except if you need it. Now, I added two best ofs. No men playing in women's sports. Has nothing to do with it. No men. Like, I'm looking at Jackson. I'd like to know, is there any woman in the audience that thinks they can tackle that guy? Because I'd like to meet you. I'd like to shake your hand. I don't know. Jackson, you think you could play against women okay? Do you think you'd have any problem? I don't think so. But don't get involved, Jackson. Don't get involved, Jackson. Don't answer that question. No, I'm looking at the legs. He's this beautiful guy. He's got legs like tree trunks. This is not a good thing for women. This would not be good. No, it's no good. And we don't want open borders where prisoners pour in from other countries all over the world. They pour in. We don't want open borders. We don't want sanctuary cities where you have sanctuary for criminals. We don't want it. We don't want transgender mutilization of your children, if that's okay. We don't want it. But, you know, I looked at a story, I read a story yesterday where the pharmacies, they're going out of business. They have glass all over the place. You want toothpaste. You have to open up, you have to get a clerk to open up the thing, and they open, and they hand them a toothpaste, and in the meantime, other people are waiting to steal it. They got a guy, they were saying a guy right here, Mr. Lutnick said, Mr. Lutnick, he's a rich guy, but he was in a store, and he noticed when he was in a drugstore, the people were with duffel bags. They're putting crap in a duffel bag and walking, and the clerk says, you're not supposed to be doing that. And the kid said, the hell with you, walks out. And if the clerk does anything at all, they arrest the clerk. How screwed up is our country? How the hell do you make your money if you got to open up glass, expensive glass, to give somebody a toothbrush or to give somebody some toothpaste? That does not sound like a good business model. So you have empty stores. The whole thing, we got to change it. Now, the way you stop that, you know how you stop that? You come down hard on those people. Hard. In one day, you'd solve that problem all over the country. You just come down so hard that they never forget it and they'll never do it again. They'll never do it again. It's horrible. What's happening is horrible. And it's all in the blue cities, you know, it's all blue. The 25 worst cities are blue. Blue means Democrat. That's a new name I came up with. You've never heard. I was thinking about this character we have in the House. His name is Hakeem Jeffries. And he's a low IQ person, very low IQ. And I watched what he was saying and what the horrible things he was saying, and I said, he's a dumb guy. I said, wait a minute, he's a Democrat. That's how I got the name. You take the E out, you don't use the B. A lot of people don't know dumb has a B in it, actually. You don't need it. You discard the B. But you take the E out and you replace it with a U. They're dumb. They are Democrats. You know why? Because their policies are dumb. Their policies are very dumb. All of that policies. Did you see they did an autopsy on why they lost the election? And they said, you lost the election because of Trump, primarily. But other than Trump, you lost the election because you had crappy candidates and you had bad policy, and they didn't know how to speak properly, and they weren't smart people, and various other reasons. They spent $10 million for the autopsy. It was called an autopsy. And they had typos. Jackson, they had typos in every other sentence. They had misspelled words. They had commas in the wrong location. They gave them $10 million for the autopsy. I could have given them the autopsy without any charge at all. I said, you had one candidate named Sleepy Joe Biden. What's a better name? Sleepy Joe Biden or Crooked Joe Biden? Ready? Who likes Sleepy Joe Biden? Who likes Crooked Joe Biden? About pretty similar. They're both pretty good. Who likes Crooked Hillary? Oh, she's good. Anyway. But you know, we have another problem because we have the great law enforcement. I met a lot of your law enforcement back there. They're incredible. But law enforcement, I love them. I got 99% of law enforcement vote. Can you believe it? And we're trying to figure out who were the 1%. We want to figure out who the hell were the 1%. Who would vote for Kamala? Who would vote for Sleepy Joe? But even the police are leaving. They're going to Florida, Tennessee, Texas. They're going all over the place where they put them really where they give them respect, the respect, they have our respect, they have everybody in this room's respect, but it's this radical turnaround, and we better do it fast because we're not going to have a New York left, and we got to have New York left. And you really can. Guys like Mike Lawler, guys like Bruce Blakeman, you put them in, they'll turn it around. Bruce will go down to Florida, and he'll talk to all those companies that are leaving. You'll get them to come back. He's going to get them back. It's not easy. It's a lot easier to stop them from leaving, don't you think, Bruce? So, but it's a campaign that I promised that I would cut taxes. I had a big, beautiful campaign. We won in a landslide. We won every swing state. We won by millions of votes. We won the Electoral College in a fortune. But we had another thing that we won, 86% of the counties in America. Think of it. That's why the map is all red except for 2 blue stripes. And those were rigged, by the way. They were rigged. They were rigged. We had rigged elections. But I cut your taxes and cut the taxes on workers, families, small business who are the soul of this state. And I made special promises that I would save you thousands of dollars a year by restoring, and we did that, your state and local tax deductions. And what did we save? Your SALT deduction. We brought it back. Mr. SALT. Mr. SALT. Where's your hat, Mike? He's got a hat calling himself Mr. SALT. There it is. Beautiful. I think I'll take one of them. But he didn't stop. This guy was a pain in the ass. It was terrible. He didn't stop. But he did. You're lucky to have him in this community, that I can tell you. And you had some good help from Republicans, right? Good help from Republicans. But with the help of your great congressman, it's what happened. We got your taxes cut, not only from the standpoint of SALT, but your taxes were cut, your take-home pay is soared, and all of the other things that we did. When you look at what we've done, and my motto was promises made, promises kept. And here in Rockland County, the typical owner, your typical homeowner loses over $15,000 each year alone because of your state taxes. They're going to cut your state taxes in half, and more than half. They will do things that you won't believe. And the bottom line is the state itself will make more money than it made before. I did it. I cut tremendous amounts of taxes in my first term. We had the greatest, most successful economy in history. And by the way, we're blowing it away in this term. So today, an amazing thing happened. They said it couldn't happen for 4 years. An amazing thing. The Dow Jones hit 50,702. And the S&P is way over 7,000. So these were two things that they said he won't be able to do. When I first got elected, they said he won't be able to do that. There's no way he's going to be able to do that in his first term, which is my first term of numerous terms. By the way, we're a 3-term president. We just don't want the results. We won 3 times, but we only want the results of the first and the third. I know. We have a hat. The hat says 4 more years. It drives the radical left lunatics crazy. But we did all of the different things, and we've saved you from $10,000 to $40,000 a year, the people in Rockland. On average, over 1 million New Yorkers claimed the deduction this year. You're able to write off nearly $22,000 on average, putting thousands of dollars back in your pockets. And these are all Republican tax cuts. The Democrats voted against every one of these tax cuts, every one. They voted, as an example, in favor of open borders. They voted against the border. They voted against the wall. They voted against the sanity of when we talk about men playing in women's sports. I'll tell you how ridiculous it is. That's why I love having Jackson, because it's so easy. I just say, how would you like to play against him? But we have even better, Jackson. We have a weightlifter. He was a failed male weightlifter, and then he decided to transition to the other side. And they had a major contest, an Olympic tryout, and they had a young woman who was really good. She was one of the greatest ever, and she could lift 204 pounds over her head. And the record stood for 17 years, Jackson, 17 years. And she was going to break the record. It was a big record, but she was going to break it. And they took 1/8 of an ounce, and they put it on one side. And they took 1/8 of an ounce, and they put it on the other side. And her parents were right where you are, you beautiful parents, right? Oh, you parents, yes. Even if you weren't, I'll say you are. Not her. Good job you did. Good job, Mom. And they had this beautiful young weightlifter. Female, real female. This was a real female. So she had 1/8 of an ounce. She had like 208 pounds, and she was going to do it, and her parents were so proud. Her father knew she couldn't do it, but the mother thought she would. That's typical mother. The father was sort of not so sure. He loved his daughter, but he wasn't sure. And she bent over, and she lifted that sucker, and she pulled it up, and she was getting close. And she could barely, and the mother was screaming, "Come on, darling, you can do it." 17 years it stood. "Come on, darling, you can do it." And she got it up to here, Jackson. She was almost, "Come on, darling." The mother and the father was almost bored because he knows she's not going to do it. And the mother's screaming, "Come on, darling, I love you so much. Mom, I love you. I love you." And she couldn't do it. Boom, it dropped. And then in steps this young transitioned person. You know, I've gotten very good with the words. It took me a long time. I used to get criticized. He was a transitioned person, and he stepped up. Now, he was a failed, lowest of the low for the male weightlifters, and he stood over that weight. He looked at it. He could have done it 4 or 5 times. You know, he broke the record by over 100 pounds. Isn't this ridiculous? Isn't this ridiculous? Do you want to hear the swimming story or not? You know, my wife, the great First Lady, number one movie. You believe it? I don't like that. I don't like success for people in the family. No, you can only have, remember, there's one star in a family. It doesn't work with two. No, she did a movie, number one movie. You saw that? Then it went streaming, the new thing streaming. It was number one streaming. But she says, "Darling, please, you speak so beautifully. Would you do me a favor? Don't do the swimming story. Don't do the weightlifting story. It's so damn unpresidential. And also, darling, when you're leaving and they have that song, the gay national anthem, if you remember. That's why I did so well with the gay vote, I think, because of that song. I did great with the gay vote, better than any Republican's ever done by far. But my wife, the First Lady, very elegant woman. That's why people love the women went to see that movie 15 times. Okay, ready? She said, "Darling, don't dance, okay? It's not presidential. Don't do the weightlifting thing. It doesn't look good. Don't do the swimming thing." So I'll do the swimming thing, too. All right, I'll do this one. Now, a young Olympian, very beautiful Olympian swimmer. And, you know, it's sort of like the pyramid. All the great people, they swim against each other from the time they're 5 years old. You know, it just works that way. They're better, whether it's golfers or players, baseball, football players. You were great when you were 4 years old. You could throw a ball better than anybody else. But the truth is, it always works that way. And this young woman looking for the Olympics, and she knows all the girls on the right and all the girls on the left, and she stands and she's so proud. She wants to qualify, and she's really a champion swimmer. And she looks to the left. You've heard this story. And she sees 6 girls, and she knows every one of them. She looks over there. Yeah, oh, great. That's good. Hi, how you doing? She hates them because, you know, they're competitors, but she says hi. Then she looks to the right. She sees 6 people, and she knows 5 of them, but there's a person just on her right who's gigantic. It's a gigantic person. And she's looking up at him, at her, excuse me. That could be the end of my political career. That could be. You cannot do that. You cannot say, looking up at him, because so she's looking up at her. Oh my gosh, she's so big. I've never seen anybody. And he has a wingspan sort of the size of Shaquille O'Neal. Go home to mom. Go home to mom. Go home to mom. Take him home to mommy. He's going to be in trouble. You know what he doesn't say is his mom's watching on television right now and she's loving it. Anyway, so you have this person, and you know what happened. The story is very, very famous, actually, that she was very severely injured. You know what injured her? Windburn, because he went by her so fast that she got tremendous windburn in the pool, and then he finished up the race, and he rested while the other girls came in. And it was a very sad event, a very sad occasion. But to think that we actually, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, could you imagine saying, we will not allow men to play in women's sports? Could you imagine saying that transition, can you imagine saying, we will not allow the mutilization of your children? If you said that, they'd say, what's wrong with that person? Why are they talking that way? Today you have to say it, because they do allow in certain places, still, we've cut a lot of it out, most of it, they allow the mutilization of your children, and we don't allow that stuff, and we're going to get it the hell out of here. Whatever happened to that guy? It's so quick. I don't know. I tell people, please don't do it. It's dangerous. To do it in this crowd is not a good thing. You don't want to do it in Trump crowds. I've had very little. Do you remember originally, I used to have a lot of that. You know, the first couple of months, I'd have people screaming, and they learned it's just not a good thing to do. It's not good. It's sort of dangerous. And of course, I like things that aren't dangerous. I don't like to see people get whacked. I don't like it. So don't do it. But we used to have it all the time. My first month or two, oh boy, guys would start screaming, we hate you. And then all of a sudden it got less, and now it never happens. That's the first time it's happened in a long time. That's the first time it's happened in a long time. If the Democrats gain power, they'll take these deductions and tax cuts away. They'll raise your taxes, and I'll tell you what, all my life, I went through life watching politics. I love politics, always watch. I never thought I'd be a politician. Could you believe I'm a politician? I hate the sound of it. But remember that, although I had a good night the other night, right? We knocked out a bad senator from Louisiana. We knocked out Massey, a horrible, one of the worst Republican congressmen ever. We knocked out somebody in Georgia, Rathensberger. We knocked him out. We knocked out everybody. We were 38-0. Think of that, 38-0. Who's 38-0? We haven't lost one in years. You want to know the truth? Let me tell you, we have Make America Great Again, MAGA. We have a movement the likes of which this country has never seen. And you know, it's a movement based on common sense. It's not that it's conservative maybe, but it's a movement based on common sense. We want strong borders, we want good education, we want low taxes, we want a strong military. How good is our military, right? Now, we're doing very well, by the way. Well, first of all, Venezuela was unbelievable, right? Now Iran, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, everything's gone, their leaders are gone. And if you read the fake news, you'd think they're doing just fine. They're not doing just fine. They want to settle so badly. We have the greatest military. I just got back from China, President Xi, good man. And I'll get killed for saying that. They'll say, oh, he called President Xi a good man. Well, we had an amazing time, but even he had to say, your military is unbelievable. This is the head of China. I built the greatest military my first 4 years, and I didn't know I was going to be using it this much, but we're using it. And there's nobody like our equipment. There's nobody like the stuff we produce, but most importantly, there's nobody like our military men and women. There's nobody. But all my life I've watched politicians, and until this last 8 or 9 years, they have Trump derangement syndrome. They're all screwed up. Their wires are all mixed up, the Democrats. And they always used to say that we will lower your everybody, Republican, Democrat, we will lower your taxes. We're going to lower your taxes. Now they don't do that. They say we will raise your taxes. The Democrats, they want to raise your taxes. Never forget, not a single Democrat in Congress voted to raise the SALT deduction. Mike Lawler and all of his friends sitting up here fought them, and they voted against it. And by voting against the great, big, beautiful bill, one of the greatest pieces of legislation, probably the biggest ever passed, because we put everything in 4 years. That was my idea. I said, let's add everything, because these people are crazy. We might not get another chance at it. We added everything into that. That's 4 years' worth of legislation. That's why we call it the great, big, beautiful bill. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security for the seniors. The Democrats voted for open borders. They voted for open borders. And if they get in, you're going to have open borders again. You're going to have millions of people coming in. They voted for men in women's sports. They voted against the largest ever investment in school choice. Everybody wants school choice. And they voted against making interest payments on your auto loans tax deductible. That's what you have if it's made in America. So, we have another little disturbance back there. Hello. Hello, everybody. That's okay. It's already cleared up. What are you doing back there to these people? Boy, does that get cleared up fast. The guy raises his hand, starts screaming something, and within about 2 seconds, it's over. I don't know. What happened to him? Don't hurt him. Don't hurt him. Don't hurt him. I do that for legal reasons. This way I can say. That's a great thing to say. Do not hurt him under any circumstances. And now I can say I'm innocent. They voted against the Trump accounts, which provide automatic contributions of $1,000 for every newborn child. So they end up being quite wealthy. And our record tax cuts are projected to raise incomes for New Yorkers by over $8,000, Mike, on average. We're going to boost household take-home pay for you, the people in the room, over $12,000 and protect more than 405,000 New York jobs. And we got to protect the jobs. We can't let that happen. I just say it again and again and again. You can't let these companies go. It's easy to say, oh, we don't like the companies. They're the ones that supply you with the money and the jobs and everything else. You got to cherish those companies. Whether you like them or not, you got to. Last month, the IRS issued the largest average tax refunds to New Yorkers in New York history. Think of it. You got back the biggest refund that you've ever had. And that's all over the country, by the way. But I was with the King of Saudi Arabia 2 years ago, and he's investing over $2 trillion here. We have $18 trillion coming in. But he said, and you might have heard it just a short time ago, he said, Mr. President, it's amazing. 2 years ago, you were a dead country, dead. We never thought anything was going to happen that could be good for your country. You were a dead country with a leader that was a not smart person, I'm going to say. You were a dead country, and today you're the hottest country anywhere in the world. It's true, we're the hottest country. Respected by everybody. We're respected by everybody. The stock market has just set 68 times during my short, a little bit more than a year. 68 days we hit all-time record highs, and since the election, adding $9 trillion in value to your savings and retirement accounts, 401ks. Your 401ks, does anybody have a 401k? Well, your people are going to vote for me then. There's no way. Will anybody with a 401k vote against Trump? Thank you. It's always risky to ask that question. Sometimes it's yes, you're right. It could be a very dangerous way. But since I took office, the typical 401k is up more than $30,000. And I've created 300,000 jobs in the last 2 months, smashing all expectations. Remember this, right now, more people are working in the United States than at any time ever before, by far, by a big number. And in 16 months, we've lifted nearly 5 million Americans off of food stamps. 5 million. And thanks to my strong tariff policy, now I get into a lot of trouble with tariffs because you remember when I first came out? I love tariffs. And I said, I love tariffs. It's my favorite word in the whole dictionary. I love the word tariff. And the fake news, look at all of them back there. That's a lot of fake news. That's a lot of fake news. They're all over the place. They're all over. I got more fake news. You know, they hate me, but boy, do they cover me. But I said, my favorite word in the dictionary is tariff. And they got after me. They said, he's a horrible human being. What about family? What about God? What about religion? What about love? So now I say it's my 5th favorite word, and I get away. And I'm okay. But because of tariffs, we've brought numbers into this country that know. In other words, if you make your product outside of the United States, to get it in here, you have to pay a big tariff. So what do? They build their factory in the United States. And that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And even New York, with your bad policies, we have people coming here. I'm trying to get them to come to New York. We've also cut our gaping trade deficit by, okay, if you cut a trade deficit by 1%, 0.5%, you're a genius. I've cut it by 59%, 1 year. It's because of tariffs, because the money we're being made. Is that right, Mr. Lutnick? Secretary of Commerce is here. Looks good, looks handsome, reasonably. He doesn't look like Jackson. I'd rather look like Jackson. I'll take Jackson any day. Under our leadership, factory construction is up, new residential construction is way up, and consumer spending is way up. American companies are ordering core capital goods to expand their operations at the highest rate in the history of our country. And last year, General Motors announced a new manufacturing investment of $1 billion in upstate New York to produce V8 engines, which they never would have done here. They were all made in Germany and other countries. Now they're making them here because if they don't, they have to pay a big penalty. And they're stamping them at my instruction, made in the USA. Made in the USA. We're bringing it back. Joe Bonney is building a $1.2 billion dairy plant in Rome, New York, the largest investment in the history of the company, big company. And Micron, boy, Micron's great. They're investing hundreds of millions. In fact, it'll be could be very close by the time they finish out, over $100 billion in Clay, New York. Anybody come from Clay? You will be there when you go up and look for a job. My administration and our allies in Congress are also fighting every single day to lower the cost of living. So I got into office. I won the election in a landslide. And I have a news conference. Thank God. I mean, not to brag, but if I didn't win the election, we were dead. The welfare was tripling and the business was leaving, and the $18 trillion would have been 18 trillion to the negative instead of the positive. We would have been a dead country. We would have been finished. It's true. We ended Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate. That's where they wanted everybody to buy an electric car. And as I told Elon, I love electric cars, but Elon, it's not for everybody. You know, if we would build the charging booths, right, it would cost the country $4 trillion. No country can afford that. $4 trillion. You ever get an electric car and you sit and get nervous because you know your thing is down a little bit? Friends of mine tell me the store it's down a little bit, getting close, and you're looking, what about a charging station? You know, this is an hour before it runs out. Where's a charger? And then you see it. It's a sign, and it says charging station, an arrow pointing to the right, 92 miles. And you limp in if you make it at all. No, we love electric cars. I have to say that because of Elon, but I love electric cars. They're lovely, lovely vehicles. But I said, not everybody wants to have an electric car. And I ended that whole nonsense. By 2030, you're going to all have electric cars? I don't think so. How about California? They have electric cars. They don't have enough electricity to turn on your air conditioners. They have brownouts, and now everybody's going to have an electric car. That's one of the worst governors in the country, by the way, that guy. But he took himself, did you hear he announced he's taken himself out of the race? He called himself a dumb person. He got very low board scores. Everything he's done is tough, and he can't read a speech. He can't read a speech. So I don't read too many speeches either. I'd be better off if I did. But he can't read a speech, but he called himself a dumb person. And when you do that, I say it ends. But a friend of mine, very good at politics, say, don't worry, people forget about it. I don't know. I don't think you can forget. I thought it was the worst. He did this during an interview. I thought it was the worst interview by a professional politician in the history of our country. Because Gavin, I think, is when he says he's stupid. He said he's stupid. But remember? But he said he's smarter than the people in the room. And then he got sued for being a racist, okay? And I guess he probably is a racist, but he said he was a stupid person. You'll never hear me call myself I'm the smartest guy you're ever going to meet. And don't you want to have a smart person as president? Yeah, you want to have a smart person. In fact, I took the cognitive test. I'm the only one. You know, they called me, originally they said, he's brilliant. He wants to take over the entire country. Then they said, no. He wants the world. He doesn't want the country. That's why he's in Iran. That's why he's in, hey, by the way, how did we do in Venezuela? Not bad. That's why he's in. You know, we've taken out so much oil in Venezuela, we paid for the cost of the war about 25 times over. When did you hear that last? You know, it's a one-way street. But no, the doctor, I said, doctor, let me ask you a question. They called me genius, and that didn't work. Then they said he's totally brilliant. He's a vicious dictator who wants to take over. That didn't work. And then they called me this, and then they said, they hit me with a bad one. He's a dumb person. D-U-M, not the B. He's a dumb person. It's enough. Most people don't know it has a B. He's a dumb person. I said, doctor, I don't mind being called a brilliant, total tyrant dictator, but I don't want to be called dumb. What do I do, doctor? Is there some kind of a test I can take? He said, actually, sir, there is. It's a cognitive test. I said, how many presidents have taken it? None. You know this story. No people have taken it. I said, well, is it good or bad? Is it tough? It's a tough test. It starts off easy. It gets very, very tough. I said, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take that test, I think, doctor, because I do good on tests. I'm going to take that test, and let's see how we do. He said, here's the problem, sir. If you do badly on the test, it's going to be reported because it's Walter Reed Medical Hospital. It's a military hospital. It's sort of public. So you have 5 doctors sitting there, and they're all, if you do badly on it, sir, and you could do badly because, you know, the questions are very easy at the beginning, then pretty easy, then pretty hard. By the time you get to the end, there are not a lot of people in the room can get them, believe me. I said, well, it will be public, won't it? It'll be embarrassment, but let's do it. This was in my first term. I took it, and I aced it. And they had tough questions. So the first question was, you have a bear, a snake, an elephant, and a horse. Name the horse. That's the horse. The second question's a little tough, and then he goes, so the New York Times does a story to show the test that I just aced, and they only used the first question. They didn't go into the other questions. They didn't go in. But toward the end, like they had a question like, pick a number, sir, any number. Okay, 203. multiply times 9, divide by 2, add on 1,324, subtract 1,292. Sir, multiply it out one more time by 19. What is the answer, sir? And I got it right. You know? And the one doctor said, I've been doing this test for 20 years. I've never seen anybody ace it. So then what happened? That was in my first term. And that quieted people down. That was good. And then what happened? I did it twice in my second term. So I've taken it, and I've aced it all 3 times, I'll tell you, because it is a positive thing, you know, positive. Nice to be smart. But remember, I said, and I made the statement, all presidents and vice presidential candidates should be forced to take a cognitive test and a test on intelligence. And I said it loud. Obama couldn't do well on it. Biden wouldn't even get the first question. I don't think he'd get the first. Which is the bear? Which is the horse? No, would he get? You know, I have a friend, he's very good politically, but he has a test. He owns, like, stores, little stores. He's not super rich. In fact, he's not even rich. But he makes a living, as the expression goes. But I knew him a long time. I like to keep my old friends. I like to do really much better than them. I don't like friends that become very successful. I like people that are just okay. Even if they're terrible, I like that too. I hate, like, when I have lunch with somebody that's really, really successful. I hate it because he or she is bragging about how great they are, and I hate that when they do that because they stop me from talking about the fact that I became president. But I have a friend, and he said, you know, I have a simple test for a politician. I own stores. I'm really good at it. It's not a complex business. And I say, how would a president do running my store while I'm away on vacation? He said, I take one store, not 3 or 4. And I say, my busiest one, on Queens Boulevard, Queens. He said, I take a store, and I say, how would he be? And I said, so what's the answer? He said, you would drive it into one of the largest retail empires in the world. Biden wouldn't be able to run the store for one evening. One evening it would be a disaster. He said, I give people tests. I put people in my store. I say, how do you think they do? And he said, Biden wouldn't be able to run a store. We can never let that happen again to our country. We can never let it happen again. What he's done to our country is unacceptable. And a lot of bad things. We had inflation, but we've got that down. By the way, the oil prices are going to tumble as soon as I finish up with Iran. Tumble. Boom. I was in Iowa. We had it down to $1.85 a gallon in Iowa, but we had it down around the $2 point. And then I said, well, Lutnick, we're going to have to take a trip to, we got Scott Bessent, we got all of them. I said, we just hit 50,000 on the Dow, and I said, that's a record, highest ever. I said, sorry to do this to you, but we're going to have to journey down to the Middle East. They said, why? I said, because Iran is going to have a nuclear weapon if we don't stop them. And I said, we're going to have to do it, and we have stopped them. They're not going to ever have a nuclear weapon. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. And we'll have that over with soon. It'll be over with soon, and you're going to see numbers like you've never seen, both on the upside and also in terms of costs. You're going to see costs go down. But, you know, the Democrats are the ones that caused all the costs. And they were the ones that caused. When I took over, they caused, the prices were through the roof. I told you before, the inflation was the highest ever. The costs were high. And think of it, they'd constantly come out, the cost. They would constantly come out with the word affordability. I said, they're the ones that caused the problem. I'm in the office 2 days. They are the greatest bullshit artists, ready? I'm in the office 2 days. And the costs have gone through the roof under 4 years of Sleepy Joe or Crooked Joe or both, Biden, right? And I hear these Democrats from all over the place going, affordability. They're the ones that caused it. I didn't cause it. Remember the eggs? my first news conference, 2 or 3 days in, they said, what are you going to do? These people, these corrupt press, they're corrupt. They're corrupt. They know it. They're corrupt. They're totally corrupt. They were saying, what are you going to do about the cost of eggs? I said, what's the problem with eggs? They say they've gone up 4 times. I said, I just got here. Right? I just got here. They're the greatest bullshit artists, I'm telling you. They said, Trump has driven up the cost of eggs. I just got here, I'm sorry. And within 3 months, our great Secretary of Agriculture has driven them down to the lowest point they've been in a long time. We've got them all down. Now we'll get our energy down. The only thing that has your prices, look, energy is a big ball game. That's the big one. And we're going to get that down. It'll get down to where it was, maybe even get down lower. But we had it down to a number that was so good they hadn't seen it since my first term, actually. But we terminated the Green New scam, including the so-called efficiency rule on water heaters, stoves, washers, dryers, light bulbs, saving Americans on average $3,250. And yesterday we eliminated a truly awful Biden regulation on refrigerators and air conditioners that drove the cost of food even in grocery stores where they have freezers. It was called the refrigerant. And according to these lunatics, the refrigerant, which we've had for 40 years, is going to drive people into a state of frenzy. There's nothing wrong with the refrigerant other than sometimes it makes your food too cold. Its alternative costs about twice as much, and it doesn't cool your food at all. Everyone that has it practically has gone bankrupt because their food has rotted. So we ended the anti-refrigerant movement in this country. You will now be able to purchase an air conditioner that actually gives you cold air. It's nice, isn't it? And as you may know, here in New York, I'm fighting relentlessly to end the scourge of congestion pricing, where Kathy Hochul, you know, I have to tell you this, though. She calls me up a lot, and she can check my phone records. It says Buffalo, New York. She calls me up a lot. I immediately know it's her, because I do have friends in Buffalo, but they haven't called me too much lately. It says Buffalo, and said, hi, Mr. President, it's Kathy. Hi, could you help me here? Could you help me there? And we're having a little problem getting this, and we're trying to get that. Could you give me a little hand? I say, Kathy, you're always killing me. Why the hell would I give you a hand? Well, I just thought I'd try. Okay, thank you very much. And the next day she goes out, we must stop Donald Trump. It's crazy. Trump derangement syndrome. You know, she's a very, I don't want to say anything negative. She's a very nice woman. But she is never going to take you to the promised land, ever. There will never be a promised land with Kathy. So we're also taking historic actions to make it easier to afford a home. And I signed an executive order banning large Wall Street investment firms from buying up all of the single-family homes all over the country. And I also directed Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and we happen to have the head of Fannie Mae, and where is Mr. Pulte? Right here, Pulte. He's done a great job, that guy. See, these people know you. You're becoming very famous. But he's done a good job. But I've instructed him to buy $200 billion in mortgage bonds, bringing interest rates plummeting down much lower than they would have normally been. And we're going to get the rates down. Rates are coming down with the energy. You watch what's going to happen. I had a rotten head of the Fed, and now I have a great head of the Fed today. Kevin Warsh. Kevin was just sworn in today. He's great. He's going to be great. And now Congress is on the cusp of passing the most important piece of housing legislation in a generation. But to be honest with you, housing is all about interest rates. I know more about housing than anybody in history. No president's ever done. I built a lot of housing. And they can pass all the bills they want. It's about interest rates. You get the interest rates down, everybody's going to be very, very happy. We're going to get it down very quickly. I support the bill that passed the House this week, Congressman Lawler's help now, and it's called the House and Senate. It's a House and Senate housing bill, and it's coming together, and hopefully they'll get it done. But I will say this, Mike, again, it's about interest rates. It's all about interest rates. We get the interest rates down, the housing, you're going to look like a genius. Perhaps most importantly, we've made tremendous strides to bring down the crushing cost of health care. Under my most favored nation agreement that nobody wants to write about, and it's the biggest because we went from the highest price in the entire world to the lowest price in the entire world. And I can't get the fake news to write about it. I think that alone should win the midterms. That alone should win them. It's called most favored nations. In other words, we pay the lowest price of any nation in the world. So we're right now paying many times higher. We're paying sometimes 10, 12 times higher than other nations, like the fat drug. $87 in London, $1,300 in New York City. And a friend of mine who's very fat called me. He said, President, he's crude as hell. He's crude and very smart, highly neurotic. We all know people like that, very smart, but highly neurotic. And he was in London, and he's a rich guy, made a lot of money, but he knows the cost of medicine that he takes, probably more than that he takes, this guy. He's begging me not to tell his name because he's actually become quite famous. I tell the story often. So he calls me up, he goes, President, he used to call me Donnie. Donnie. Now he calls me, Mr. President. He said, President, I'm in London. I just paid $87 for the fat drug. He said, it's a fat shot. I said, what is it, Ozempic? He said, I don't know what the hell it is. It's supposed to. I said, it's not working on you, Charles. Not working at all. It hasn't worked, but he knows the price. He goes, I paid $87, and in New York for 2 weeks ago, I bought the same damn thing for $1,300, and it really made an impression. I mean, look, I've been watching this for a long time. I was very proud to have reduced, in my first term, third year, drugs have always gone up for 28 years, and I got it to a point where it went down 1/8 of a point, and I was so proud of myself. I called a news conference. I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to let you know that drugs have gone down in our country for the first time in 28 years. They've gone down by 1/8 of a point. I was so proud. Now they're down by 80%, 90%. $80, 90%. And the fake news doesn't want to write about it. And you could even say 400, 500, 600, or 700%, depending on the way you ask the question. But here today is a local family that has benefited greatly from our policies, especially our historic tax cuts and the great, big, beautiful bill. Kathy Kennedy is a retired special education teacher from Orangetown. And this year she saved more than almost $3,000 on her taxes thanks to the SALT deduction. And congratulations to Kathy. Kathy, do you want to come up here? Come on up here, Kathy.
I just want to express my sincere gratitude to President Trump for supporting the tax rebates and working alongside our local lawmakers to make our county stronger, safer, and more affordable for families. These efforts create opportunities for our children to remain here, build their futures, invest in our communities, and continue to contribute to the place we proudly call home, Rockland County, New York.
Good afternoon, everybody. I love seeing all the beautiful patriotism out there today. But, Mr. President, we wanted to take a moment to sincerely thank you for the policies that you've put in place, and they're making a major difference for families like mine. Yeah. As a father, a small business owner, a home inspector, a real estate investor, changes to the SALT tax deductions and things like the Trump accounts for children have made a meaningful difference in our lives. Because of those policies, we're able to keep more money that we work so hard for and invest it into our future instead of simply getting by. We were able to take that money that we saved and invest it directly back into our home inspection business and a land investing business two businesses that are giving us the opportunity to create something lasting for our children and the communities that we serve. Thank you. And more important than the financial side, entrepreneurship is giving us more freedom. Freedom to spend more time together as a family, freedom to build a future on our own terms, and freedom to be there for the moments that are most important with our children. Mr. Trump, we just wanted you to know that there's hardworking American families out there who are benefiting from all that you're doing. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, and God bless America.
Thank you, everybody. Great job. Thank you. Thank you very much. Great job. A budding politician. I can see that. I also want to call up the man who fought so hard, harder than anybody else, for the SALT deduction, and he's really become a friend of mine. He's a warrior. He's a warrior, fights like hell, and he fights really for you. That's what he's doing. And Mike Lawler, Congressman, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is great to have you here in Rockland County, New York. Now, Mr. President, you moved Rockland County further to the right than any county in New York in 2024, gaining 14 points and becoming the first Republican to win Rockland County as a presidential candidate in over 20 years. And on behalf of the people of the 17th Congressional District, I want to thank you for working with me to deliver a big win by lifting the cap on SALT. Over 90% of my constituents were able to fully deduct their state and local taxes, and I thank you for fulfilling that commitment.
He's done a great job. Thank you, Mike. Amazing. We're pleased also to be joined by the Secretary of Commerce. He's a big man, a very successful guy, and I said, that's the guy I want for Commerce, and he's done a fantastic job. And Howard, you want to say one thing fast? Could you speak fast? Come on, let's get up here, Howard. Come on. He's great. Done a great job. Howard Lutnick.
My favorite number, $18 trillion. President Trump is bringing in more jobs, more investment, and more factories and more production than anybody ever dreamed. And it is an honor to be the Secretary of Commerce for the greatest president of all of our lifetimes, Donald Trump.
And I won't ask him to speak, and I introduce him because he's been incredible. The Director of Federal Housing Finance Agency, Bill. Thank you very much, Bill Pulte. Along with some absolute warriors, State Assemblyman Mike LaPetrie. Mike, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Great job. Great job. State Senator Peter Oberacker. Peter, thank you, Peter. Great. Co-founder and CEO of Sticker Mule, Anthony Constantino, and County Executive. Wait a minute, Anthony first. Before I get to this County Executive, I got to give him. Where's Anthony? Hi, Anthony. Thank you. Good job. And the County Executive of Nassau County. Okay. I'm telling you, I said before, Nassau County, it's not possible to get a man of common sense, a man who's Republican and conservative, elected. He's won it in record fashion. It was the biggest upset in New York politics probably 6-7 years ago when he first ran, 7. And I remember I said, that's not possible. Bruce won? And then he won again. Then he won again in record. Now that he's there, it's record. And that county is doing unbelievable. He's running for governor. He's your Republican nominee. He's your conservative nominee. He's your conservative nominee. And he is an unbelievable man, and he will turn this place around so fast. And I promise one thing, when he calls, the President of the United States will answer, and we're going to help him. Come on up here, Bruce. Come here. Bruce Blakeman, everybody. Bruce Blakeman.
Come on, Hudson Valley. Let's hear it for President Donald J. Trump. Come on, louder! The greatest president in my lifetime. We will save New York as President Trump has saved America, because we will fight, fight, fight!
You watch what happens. So, and he really is, he's a special man, very talented person, a great executive. That's what you need. You have people that have no idea what's happening. We're also joined by Allison Crowther, the mother of Wells Crowther, who you know about, the man in the red bandana, a 24-year-old volunteer firefighter, equities trader, a wonderful guy, had a perfect life. Right here in Rockland County, you all know who he is. He was a legend, and he's become a legend, who heroically gave his life on 9/11 to save 18 people from the World Trade Center. And I see his mother is here. And I'm pleased to tell his mother and everybody else, come on up here just for a second, that today, at the request of Bruce and Mike and some of the great political people we have, that we are approaching the 25th anniversary of September 11th, 2001, a dark day that will live in infamy. We are posthumously awarding Wells the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is the highest award. That's the highest award outside of the Congressional Medal of Honor. And those are the two biggies, and Wells has one of them. And I just want to congratulate his great mother in doing a phenomenal job in raising that young man. Boy, what bravery. Saved those people and became a legend in a sense. Nobody else would have done what he did. So he is going to be getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. President, for this huge honor. I want to thank Rachel Ducci, who's in the audience here, who started this whole process, and of course Mike Lawler, who has been a huge support in moving it forward. I didn't come prepared for remarks, so I just want to say, to me, it's such a beautiful thing that even 25 years later, Wells's light still shines brightly. I travel. Thank you. Thank you. I travel around the country, and I've even been to Amman, Jordan, talking about Wells's story and his legacy and his example of courage, fearlessness. He was even from a little boy, and his pure humanity that day, saving so many lives. And it's just an example that as I travel and speak to children, they're tremendously moved and inspired by this to be better people. And I see this over and over. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm also very blessed with my 2 daughters, their wonderful husbands, and 6 grandchildren who are my family now. They can stand up. Oh, they're right over there. So I guess I just realized early on that I couldn't pick up a weapon and go fight the bad guys myself, but the weapon I had was to work to bring good into the world. And that's what I continue to try to do every day. And I'm blessed that we were able to learn Wells' story, which was actually Memorial Weekend of 2002, when we finally uncovered the story, thanks to the New York Times. So thank you, Mr. President. We are truly blessed and so honored to remember Wells this way. Thank you.
I gave you no notice. Well, thank you very much. That's a great story. Right here from Rockland. They grow them heroic here, don't they? Huh? We know that. And we're also truly honored to be joined by some of the very special people, the family of Sheridan Gorman. You know Sheridan, and her father is a great friend of one of my people, Dan Scavino, who's done very well. He's become quite known in the world of politics. Dan is great, but his father's a friend of Dan, so it affects us maybe a little more than it would normally, but it was terrible. 2 months ago, this beautiful, beautiful 18-year-old college student from Yorktown, New York, right across the Hudson River, was walking in a park in Chicago when she was gunned down by an illegal alien monster in cold blood. Nobody knows even why this happened. This savage animal who stole Sheridan's life entered illegally from Venezuela and was released into our country by crooked Joe Biden and that whole Biden administration of thieves and criminals. He was then arrested and released again by Democrat Governor J.B. Pritzker, a terrible governor, has no idea what's going on in the sanctuary city of Chicago. Sanctuary cities protect criminals. They're a sanctuary for criminals, not for people like you, like us. To Sheridan's mother, Jessica, her father, Thomas, and her sister, Madeline, her cousin, Lila, we grieve this terrible loss, and our prayers are with you. And I'd like you to meet this family. This family is amazing, and the reason I do that, it just hit the strings. It was this incredible, beautiful girl to be so savagely hurt, ultimately killed. And so could I ask her parents and sister, cousin, to come up, please?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have to say, you are just so funny. My family has laughed more, smiled more than we have, like in the past hour, than we have since March 19th. It's been such a gift. Thank you.
Hi, sorry, we prepared some words. But first, I just want to thank President Trump and Michael Lawler and all of the legislators that believe and protect and are champions for our American children. My name is Jessica Gorman, and Mother's Day was just 2 weeks ago. For most mothers, it meant flowers and cards and phone calls or children coming home. For me, it was heartache and tears. Because on March 19th, my beautiful daughter, Sheridan Grace Gorman, was murdered in cold blood. She was walking on a pier in Chicago with her friends. Just a few blocks from her campus, they were hoping to see the northern lights over the Chicago City nightline. Sheridan never got to see those lights. Instead, her life was stolen by a man who should have never been in this country, a man who should have never been set free in that community. And every step, the system had a chance to stop him. And at every step, it failed. And my daughter paid for those failures with her life. No mother should ever have to wonder if her child called out for her in her final moments. No mother should ever have to imagine her baby lying alone and bleeding on the cold pavement. And no family should ever have to bury a child because public officials failed to put innocent American lives first. Sorry. To the mothers of New York, to the mothers of Chicago, Rockland County, and our own beloved Westchester County, and all across this nation who have reached out, who have cried with us and prayed for us and stood with us, I just want to thank you from the bottom of every piece of my broken heart. I see you, I hear you, and I need you to please hear me. Remember Sheridan's face. Remember her light. Remember the life she should have lived. And then stand with us, not only in grief, but in action. Forget political party. Vote with your heart. Support leaders like President Trump, like Michael Lawler. Please, please support leaders and policies that protect your child and mine. Because a city and a state or a country that does not protect its children has lost its way. And together, we must be brave enough to demand that it find its way back. Thank you.
My name is Tom Gorman. I'm not a politician. I'm not a public speaker. I'm a father of whose daughter was murdered by an illegal immigrant. I am a husband who had to hold his wife on Mother's Day when she asked the question no mother should ever have to ask. Through tears, Jess looked at Maddie and me and asked, "Am I still the mother of two?" There's no answer big enough for that pain, no words, no comfort, no way to give back what was stolen from our family. All I could do was hold her and tell her the truth. Yes, Jess, you're still the mother of two, because Sheridan will always be our daughter. No mother should ever have to ask that question, and no father should ever have to answer it. This is what failed policies have done to our family. We did not just lose Sheridan, we lost our peace, we lost our future, we lost the life that we knew. And no family should have to become experts in immigration failures, release policies, warrants, sanctuary laws, enforcement breakdowns, because their daughter was killed by someone who should not have been here and should not be free. Let me be clear about one thing. We support legal immigration. Legal immigration has made America stronger. We all know families, neighbors, coworkers, and friends who have come and done it the right way. Followed the law, they worked hard, built businesses, raised families, and made this country better. That is America at its best. But illegal immigration is different. Criminal illegal immigration is different. Borders matter, laws matter, enforcement matters, and above all, American families matter. We are deeply grateful to President Trump and to Congressman Mike Lawler for comforting our family, saying Sheridan's name, and fighting for policies that put safety of American children and the citizens first. But I do not understand why this is a fight that belongs to only one party. Protecting our people is not politics. It is the first responsibility of government. So do not just feel sorry for us. Instead, remember Sheridan's name and stand with us. Demand that leaders who enforce our laws, secure our borders, cooperate with law enforcement, and put innocent American families first. Sheridan should have come home, and because she did not, we will spend the rest of our lives fighting so that someone else's daughter can. Parents out there, give your kids a big hug. Tell them how much you love them. Thank you very much.
Well, it's crazy. It's crazy, right? If we had a border, we didn't have open borders. He came through open borders. Nobody checked him, totally unvetted. Terrible person, an animal. Should have never happened. Just yesterday, New York State passed a budget packed with provisions to obstruct federal immigration enforcement and keep this a deadly sanctuary state. Just passed yesterday. It's hard to believe. So, Bruce, hopefully you'll get that unpassed very quickly. It's terrible. As we speak, the radical left Democrats in the House and Senate are blocking passage of legislation to ban sanctuary jurisdictions. We want to have that banned. We don't want them. They bring in criminals of the worst type, murderers, drug dealers, prisoners escaped from foreign prisons, put in our country by foreign countries because they don't want them. But with your support and Congressman Lawler and Bruce, you're going to do fantastic. You're going to be the next governor, I'm telling you. You know who's going to take this? Bruce Blakeman. We'll stop fighting for Sheridan's. We're going to be fighting for Sheridan's memory. We're going to be fighting. You just can't forget it. I looked at it, I said, such a beautiful young kid. I saw it in the papers, front page of every paper. How do you explain that to parents? How do you explain it to anybody? And we'll abolish deadly sanctuary cities in New York and across the nation once and for all. We're getting rid of a lot of them. And we now have the strongest border in the history of our country by far, the strongest. Starting on day one of my administration, we took the most dangerous, unsafe, violent, and open border in the world. Anywhere in the world, I don't think there's any place in the world where 25 million people cross. You could go into a third world country, they don't have borders like that, and created something that was incredible because we did it without Congress, without the help of Congress. You remember Joe Biden, I can't get legislation passed. I didn't have legislation. I came in and I told Border Patrol and ICE, I said, close the border. And within 30 days, we had 0 illegal aliens admitted into the United States in the last 12 months. 0. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Incredible people. You people built this country. Remember that. You built it, nobody else. We also passed the largest ever investment in ICE and Border Patrol because they're really heroes. You know, they get mangled up and spit on by politicians that don't have the guts to get up in the morning. Democrats all, really Democrats all. You look at the stats, it's all, everything's blue. The blue states, with their help, in 2025, we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded from 1900, 125 years, the year 9. And that's with a lot of people. We got a lot out. We have a lot to take out. That's with a lot of people that aren't supposed to be here. We cut the flow of fentanyl across our border by 59%, which is unheard of. And we cut the flow of fentanyl and drugs into our country by the ocean and the sea. In other words, coming in by water, by ocean and sea, by 97%. Boom, boom. We made the largest ever investment in the U.S. military, and we're going to have $1.5 trillion invested. And boy, isn't it great that we have the greatest military in the world right now? Isn't it great? And with not only Venezuela, but with Operation Epic Fury, our warriors are ensuring that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror, Iran, #1 state sponsor of terror, they send their money all over the world to create problems, never going to happen, and they're never going to have a nuclear weapon, and they know that. They know that. And America is winning again. America is respected again, perhaps like never before, but we're just getting started. With the help of our Republican majorities in Congress, we will crush violent crime. We will impose harsh new penalties for dangerous repeat offenders. We will crack down on Marxist prosecutors and rogue judges that are no good for our country. They're disgraceful. And we will end no cash bail. This is where it began. And we will pass what we call the Great Health Care Plan, the Great Health Care Plan, to stop all payments to big insurance companies. The government pays the big insurance companies, totally control. The Democrats totally control them, and they're totally controlled by the companies themselves. And we're going to give the money not to the big insurance companies. We're going to give the health care money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care. They can make sure that they get better. You'll get better. You'll get far better health care than you have right now, because the Unaffordable Care Act, that's called Obamacare, the Unaffordable Care Act is terrible. It's always been terrible. You'll buy your own health care. The money will go directly to you, and you have a lot of money left over. You have much better health care. And we'll stop the radical left's rampant looting of your taxpayers' dollars, and we'll win the war on fraud. And you see that? It's led by our great Vice President, J.D. Vance. You see what's going on? It's looking good. You see what's going on out there? All those good-looking guys up there, they're out there, and they're out there. What they're doing is fantastic. They've caught so much fraud. They're in Minnesota. They're in California. They're going to be everywhere. And J.D. and the group are doing a fantastic job. We're finding billions and billions of dollars of fraud, medical fraud. Dr. Oz is doing phenomenally well. Dr. Oz. Bobby. We love Bobby. And we will always protect our Second Amendment. We will defend religious liberty. We will support our police. We will pass the Save America Act to protect our sacred American elect. And all voters must show voter ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. And there will be no more mail-in ballot scams, especially in places just like this where it's so rampant. Except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel. We'll be very generous in that regard, but we have to stop it. There's no country in the world that has mail-in ballots like we do. No country in the world. You know why? Because it's inherently corrupt. And we will also enshrine in permanent law no men in women's sports and no transgender surgery for our children. And together with the help of patriots throughout New York State, New York, and right here, I love this place, and all across our land and all across our country, we will make America powerful again. We're respected again like never before. We will make America wealthy again. We're right on our way to doing that. We will make America healthy again. You know what that's all about? Maha. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much. Thank you. Get out and vote in the midterm. Thank you. Thank you, Mike and Bruce. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
You can go. I said, young man, when you're short on your dough, you can stay there. And I'm sure you will find many ways to have a good time. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything for young men to enjoy. You can hang out with all the boys. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. You can get yourself clean. You can have a good meal. You can do whatever you feel. Young man, are you listening to me? I said, young man, what do you wanna be? I said, young man, you can make real your dreams, but you got to know this one thing. No man does it all by himself. I said, young man, put your pride on the shelf and just go there to the YMCA. I'm sure they can help you today. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything for young men to enjoy. You can hang out with all the boys. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. You can get yourself clean. You can have a good meal. You can do whatever you feel. Young man, I was once in your shoes. I said I was down and out with the blues. I felt no man cared if I were alive. I felt the whole world was so tired. That's when someone came up to me and said, young man, take a walk up the street. It's a place there called the YMCA. They can start you back on your way. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the
Rally vibes in the Hudson Valley. President Trump speaking to New Yorkers in Rockland County. We heard some very powerful speeches as well by some of the angel families in the Empire State. This live stream brought to you by some great sponsors, including mypillow.com/RSBN. Of course, the warehouse moving still ongoing. Save up to 80% on a number of high quality products, and also go to mypillow.com/RSBN to get that savings. Also, if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. Once again, rsbnetwork.com/donate. Of course, we'll see you this coming Monday, Memorial Day at 9 a.m. for our live coverage from Washington, D.C. Again, that starts at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. Now, before we wrap up our broadcast, I'll leave you with a quote from President Thomas Jefferson. And I've never seen this quote before, so that's why I picked it, and here it is. Quote, God who gave us life gave us liberty. Can the liberties of a nation be secure when we have removed a conviction that these liberties are the gift of God? So no matter where we are in our walk with Jesus, let's keep the faith, let's keep going no matter what. For all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday morning.